Okay, let me get this going here. Do a couple of things to get started. Oops. Let me see if this is working on YouTube. There we go. Do a couple of things to get started. Not working. Oops. Let me see if this is working on YouTube. May have to check it on here. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. There we go. Okay, it is working. There we go. Let's go. There we go. What time is it? Right on time. Right on time. Right on time. There we go. Ooh. With this setup, I'm going to have to be really careful. It's a new setup I'm testing out. We'll see what happens. There we go. Got the new setup. I really need to invest in some sort of physical setup system. Because I've got YouTube streaming on the laptop. What's up, Austin? My friend, what's happening? Can you hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you hear me okay. You can probably hear my dog scratching and moaning too as he's scratching. Astro. What's up, Johnny? What's happening? Good, you can hear me. Okay, good, good, good. Look at the ghost of Alan Watts there fading from my cup. What's happening? What's happening, everybody? So I'm streaming on YouTube as well. If you ever want to hop over there and get away from what's surely going to become the land of parrots in the comments here. Eventually, it usually does. It's Sunday, so I don't know. Alan Watts doesn't have the authority of Christ. No one has the authority of Christ because Jesus is dead if he even existed at all. So there is no authority of Christ. That is a meaningless statement, and I don't mean any disrespect about that, but that comment, Alan Watts doesn't have the authority of Christ, is absolutely irrelevant and meaningless when you say those things. And again, I don't mean any disrespect saying that at all. I don't disrespect you at all. I'm just telling you the truth. Thoughts of Father Seraphim Rose. I don't know what that means. Father Seraphim Rose. There's plenty of evidence for the resurrection outside the Bible. No disrespect taken. I'm glad. Thank you for not feeling disrespected, because I really don't intend that at all. But there's really not. There is zero evidence for the resurrection outside of the Bible, because there are zero eyewitnesses of the resurrection. And the Bible itself contains zero eyewitnesses of the resurrection. There are just zero eyewitness accounts of the resurrection. It never happened. It was a fabrication. And so when you read the Gospels are a response. They're written as a response to what happened in 70 CE, namely the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans. You need help and Jesus. No, I've been there, done that. Hey, Jet, what's up, my friend? Thank you. Yes, Sunday service. We've got a Sunday night service going on. Can you hear me if I sit back like this? Does this work? Can you still hear me? Because this mic is not hooked up to the phone, it's hooked up to the laptop for the YouTube stream. Good. Okay, cool. Were you Christian? Yes, I was a Christian. I was a pastor. I have a master's degree from Westminster Theological Seminary. And I was a I was a pastor for several years. How can you be sure that the resurrection didn't happen? Because I know what the intention was behind that story. So when I have studied the historical context of the New Testament, I know why the New Testament exists. I know why there is a New Testament. I know why the Gospels were written. And the Gospels were written as a response to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE by the Romans. These people were trying to figure out, how could God allow our land, our temple, our religion, our people to be destroyed this way? And the response is, well, the Gospels. That's what the response is. Do you support Palestine? It's a religious war, so I don't get involved in the religious war. I don't support either side, because it's an absolute religious war, and religion is bondage. Religion creates war. Religion creates hatred. Religion perpetuates the illusion of separation, and that's why there's a war raging right now. So you didn't believe what you used to teach? Yes, I believed it wholeheartedly. Yeah, absolutely. I was absolutely genuine and sincere, 100%. I was the most genuine, sincere Christian I've ever known. I always tell people that, because it's true for me. Like, when I say that, I mean it. I was absolutely genuine, absolutely sincere. When I was a Christian and a pastor, I believed it wholeheartedly. All I wanted to do was know Jesus and be like Jesus. I wanted to know my God, right? And that's why I went to seminary. I left, I sold everything I had. I sold my house, I sold my belongings, my possessions. I moved my family at the time and went off to seminary so that I could learn Hebrew and learn Greek and learn how to study the Word of God and know who God is, right? And then I was a pastor for several years, and I just continued to study and continued to study. And yeah, Dr. Freeman, exactly. And I studied my way out of the religion. I intellectually understood that Christianity isn't true. And namely, the biggest thing that I studied that enlightened me as to the untruth of Christianity is its historical context, understanding the socio-political context, the historical context in which Christianity emerged, out of which it emerged, enlightened me to the truth that this is a product of human beings in their own historical context. It has nothing to do with anyone outside of that historical context. None whatsoever. It has nothing to do whatsoever with anyone outside of that historical context. It has absolute irrelevancy to anyone outside of that context. And so it isn't true. And it's not just Christianity. Religions aren't true. Islam isn't true. Mormonism isn't true. Jehovah's Witnessism isn't true. None of it is true. The Bible is true. The Bible is not true. I'm telling you, you don't have to believe me, and I don't want you to believe me, but it's not. You should take these things and run with them and study them and not be afraid to doubt, not be afraid to ask real sincere questions, even when they may lead you out, which ultimately they will if you're open-minded. Man, I gotta fix this setup. I'm not sure I like this setup. I think I'd prefer the phone closer and the laptop further back. Live and learn. Yeah, Dr. Freeman, Jesus is likely a mix of multiple people's stories. Right. Do you believe in God? I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in anything. I don't think there's any reason to believe anything. I don't believe in believing. And so I don't believe in a God, especially some entity out there that's separate from us, separate from existence. So I don't believe in anything. I am. That's what there is I am. And that's me. And that's you. Thank you for the rose. There is existence. And any idea that we are separate from existence, or that we've been put into this universe or this creation or something like that, is just a fabrication. It's a religious concept. We haven't been put into this universe. We haven't been placed into this creation as you would call it, or some people would call it. We haven't been placed into this existence as though we were a part of it or separate from it. We are this existence. We've grown out of this existence as existence itself. We are the energy of the cosmos itself. The energy of the cosmos, the energy of the entire universe is flowing through us as us. It is us. That's what we are, right? This little ego is just an illusion as well, because the ego it believes and imagines itself as something separate, right? And that's the illusion. There is nothing separate. There is existence. There is this existence, and you are that existence. You're not separate from it. That makes you God, if you want to use the word God. That makes you the universe. That makes you the Tao. That makes you the Brahman. That makes you the energy of the cosmos. It makes you the ocean of being, right? Any of these terms that you want to use, it's fine. But the point is, you're not separate from it. There isn't you and it, or even me and you. That idea, that separation between you and I that you believe in, it just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. We are the same existence. We're the same energy of this universe. We're the same universe coming on in different forms. That's what we are. And so any idea of separation is completely an illusion. It's just imaginary. Jesus will be back. Jesus will never, ever come back. There's a reason that we're in 2024 still waiting on Jesus to come back, because he's never coming back. Jesus will never come back, because in the Gospels, when it's talking about the coming of Jesus, it's talking about the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. That is it, or 70 CE, whichever you prefer. It doesn't, it has nothing to do with some future coming, right? These things were written as prophetic hindsight. They're looking back at the events of 70 CE, 70 AD, the destruction of Jerusalem, the Roman-Jewish war. They're looking back on those events, and they're putting words in this character Jesus' mouth to describe what happened then, which is the destruction of Jerusalem. And if you're curious about this, I've written about this on rickquestionsthings.com. If you go to rickquestionsthings.com, you can read why I am no longer a Christian. I was a pastor. I have a master's of arts in religion from Westminster Theological Seminary. You can go read about that departure. You can read about all kinds of things, why there is no hell, why you can read about other things too. I don't just talk about this, but living in the present, the nature of reality. Armageddon is not even an event. It's a place, exactly. So, I could read scriptures to you all day long and show you why it's talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. He's coming back in a Rolls Royce. Yeah, I invite you to go to rickquestionsthings.com. Read about these things. I detail it in various ways in various posts of why Christianity isn't true and the intellectual reasons for my departure from the religion. The religion is bondage. All religion is bondage. It's bondage. It promises things that it will never deliver. There's not a single Christian on the face of this earth, or a single Muslim on the face of this earth, or a single Mormon on the face of this earth, and so on, that has the peace that they promise, the peace that their religion promises them. It doesn't exist. They're mutually exclusive. There's not a single loving, like true loving religious person, because love and religion are mutually exclusive. It's commanded, and you can't command true love. True love comes out of your own being. TSC is a prime example. I just saw some laughing. That's a prime example. Like the laughing emojis and all that stuff. He's scared, or he or she is scared, right? They have no peace, nothing that religion promised them. They don't have it. They've never experienced it. And so they come on lives like this and try to, mock and things like that. And so they're projecting their own fear. They're projecting their own lack. They're projecting their own bondage onto others. There is no eternal soul, and there's no hell. Hell is made up. It's imaginary. It doesn't exist. So you're living your life in fear, whether it's fear for me or fear of yourself or for yourself. You're living your life in fear of something that doesn't exist. Gehenna is a physical place outside of the walls of Jerusalem. It doesn't exist. It's not a place after this life is over. That doesn't exist. And anyone who tells you that it exists is just mimicking, they're parroting a belief of someone who lived thousands of years ago. Man, there's so many parrots tonight. It is full of parrots tonight. Rock, rock. They don't even know the words they speak. They just make sounds that they've heard before. Hey, cheese balls. What's up, Bull God? Thoughts of alien life? Well, I don't know because I've never experienced real, like, extraterrestrial life, right? But I want to know. I want to know. I would love to experience something like that. But I don't know how I feel about it because, I just haven't experienced it myself. I actually studied evolution from microorganisms. Nice. Very cool. That's interesting. All right. Sad. Everybody's saying sad. What's sad about it? That I've broken free from the bondage of religion and found true peace, true bliss outside of that bondage? That's not sad. That's actually incredibly blissful. So, man, I don't know that I've ever seen so many parrots on my live before at once. I mean, it's like we can see the Big Bang. Dr. Freeman says, yeah. Hey, Skeptical, what's up? Good to see you. With these broken hearts would find something. Wish these broken hearts would find something to do. Austin says, I got to do better about reading the comments too before for the YouTube stream, because I noticed that when I most of the time I'll see a comment and I'll half read it before I start responding to it, and on the YouTube stream there's no reference to what I'm responding to. Can I come up? Yeah, I'm going to let guests up later on, after I respond to some of these comments for a while and kind of hang out with everybody, and then I start letting guests on later. Mm-hmm. Parrot means spewing out what someone told you. Exactly. And it's full of parrots tonight. I mean, I always have a lot of parrots, but tonight is a lot of parrots. I'm drinking tea. It's like a chamomile lemon tea. There's lots of beliefs being spouted in the comments too. It's only belief. Like, you have no knowledge, just belief. So you're believing these things, and you're believing the ancient beliefs of other people, totally separated from your historical context and your socio-political context. Like, you are so far removed from their context, and you are just taking on their beliefs and believing them yourself and then spouting them off in the comments. It's wild. Thank you, Tiana Stokes. I appreciate you. You have totally accepted the beliefs of ancient human beings in their own historical context, absolutely separated from your own context. And you're spouting those same beliefs and claiming that you are wholeheartedly sold on these beliefs. And they're just beliefs of ancient human beings that have no idea what they have their own agenda. They have their own intentions, and you are claiming those as your own. And it's just wild that we still do that in 2024. All right, so also go to rickquestionsthings.com if you want to read more about my departure from Christianity. Now, I mean, I'll tell you, I have a Master's of Arts in Religion from Westminster Theological Seminary, and I was a pastor for several years. But I left the faith and left the religion over 10 years ago. I was a pastor when I was going through my deconstruction, and I didn't know what deconstruction was at the time. I didn't know anybody who had lost their faith like this, right? Who had given up the belief based on intellectual argumentation. And so I was preaching and I was pastoring and I was doing all those things, and I was slowly working my way out of the religion unknowingly. I didn't know that I was working my way out of the religion, but I was just studying and studying and researching and researching. And the more that I learned, the less I could believe. And then eventually I just knew too much, and intellectually I could no longer believe at all. And I begged God to help me. Please, God, don't let me lose my faith. I mean, I didn't want to lose my faith. I wanted to, I mean, this was my life. This is my foundation, my grounding, my identity. My identity was in Christ. And I was just crying out to God, please help me. You know my mind, you know my brain, you know what I know, you know what I've researched and I've studied, you know what I know, and you know that I can't believe knowing what I know. So you got to override this thing and help me. And the silence that I was met with is just the silence that everyone is met with. Nobody ever hears from God. They imagine that they do. But I didn't want that imagination. I wanted something real, because intellectually I knew it wasn't true. Intellectually, I knew that Christianity wasn't true. I knew that Jesus wasn't coming back. I knew that hell didn't exist. I knew that the Bible was a product of human beings in their own historical context. And so I couldn't believe it anymore. And I just, not hearing from God, I needed something just absolutely miraculous to override my intellect because of what I knew. And it didn't happen, obviously, because that God doesn't exist. There are no gods out there. And that's the path that is absolutely worth it. That's when you find the peace that surpasses understanding that religion promises. Because that carrot that's dangled in front of you by religion, by pastors and preachers and religious books, you'll never, ever, ever catch the carrot. It's just dangled in front of you and indefinitely. Because if you ever catch it, then you don't need the religion anymore. What are you doing now? So I've done a lot of things since then, but now I teach computer science. I teach entrepreneurship. I have a business as well. I have my own business here where I live, and I teach high school as well. I teach computer science, Python programming, and things like that. So it's funny how you couldn't shake the preacher vibes. It's just a personality, you know. I mean, it's a personality. I like to talk. I like to think. I like to talk about these things. Are you grateful for anything? You mean like from that past life of Christianity? I don't regret anything. I don't regret anything, because you only do what you know to do at the moment. So you're never doing anything that you know is. I mean, you know, the only way you could change anything about your past is to know exactly what you know now, going back to that past, right? You'd have to have the experience that you've experienced from the decisions you've made and the path that you walked in the past in order to know that you need to change that past. So I don't regret anything. I don't wish I could change anything about the past or anything like that. So I'm grateful for it all. I really am, and I couldn't change it if I wasn't. I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna do that. It asked me if I wanted to. Oh no, I can't get out of this. There we go. It asked me if I wanted to block the keyword bro. Didn't know you were going live tonight. Yeah, dude. I thought I told you. The stitches. So I have stitches in my mouth, man. I went through like this oral procedure. Bro, please do. Bro, block the word bro. I went ahead and kicked the guy that kept saying it. So I had a dental procedure. It went rogue on me, man. I mean, it went absolutely rogue and got horribly infected. And I was in excruciating pain for almost 2 weeks, and had to go back a few days ago to a surgeon, to an oral surgeon. They knocked me out, went in and like just fixed everything up, removed a bone graft and cleaned up all the infection and treated it with antibiotics and then sewed it up real well. And it's doing so much better. Oh yeah, the same poster. So yeah, it's a canvas, the Great Wave canvas. I've had it for years. I love it. And that's one of my surfboards. I don't ride that one anymore. It's got a little too much damage and needs to be repaired. But I've got several others. I've got 2 other ones that I ride all the time. Let's see. Are you man enough to admit you never had relationship, only had religion? Well, the thing is, that's ridiculous, because you can't have a relationship with someone that doesn't exist, and God doesn't exist, and Jesus doesn't exist. Jesus, if there was a man named Jesus, he died, and he was not raised from the dead. He died, and he has long since degraded into soil. So you can't have, I mean, the fact that you believe you have a relationship with a dead guy just shows how strong your imagination is, or you're lying, one or the other. You believe your imagination or you're lying, because you can't have a relationship with a dead guy. It just does. I mean, it's impossible. And you can't have a relationship with a God that doesn't exist. That God doesn't exist, and you claim to have a relationship with that God. So you don't believe in reincarnation? Well, I don't believe in anything. And so reincarnation would imply that there's this separate ego, that there's some reality to it, that there's a reality behind the ego, and the ego is just an illusion. It's a real illusion. This ego, it exists in the form of, it's part of the whole of existence, but there's nothing real and lasting. It's all impermanent. So the ego is impermanent. So reincarnation would imply that something impermanent becomes permanent, or is not impermanent, and it's not. It is impermanent. However, I say that, but it's not impossible. I wouldn't say that reincarnation is impossible. I just don't believe in anything like that. I don't believe in reincarnation. Now, if I die and I experience some form of reincarnation, well, that would be different. I would experience it. But, people ask me all the time what happens after death, and I don't have an answer for it. I can't say what happens after death because I've never died and I haven't experienced death. So it's not something that I even think about as far as what happens after death, because it's absolutely and totally irrelevant to think about what happens after death as long as you are here living right now in this moment. All that exists is this moment. Death doesn't exist for you right now. Death doesn't exist at all for any of us at this moment, not as an experience, because none of us have experienced death. And so when you are really, genuinely, truly living in this moment, that is all that you can do, really. But we think we can like be in the future or the past. We really can't. Thoughts of the past are happening in the present. Thoughts of the future are happening in the present. But if you realize, you recognize, you have the understanding and the awareness, I think the awareness of living in the present, this only moment which is the present, then death becomes irrelevant as far as the question of death. Like, what happens after death? It's irrelevant, because no one knows. No book knows. So the Bible doesn't know, the Quran doesn't know, the Book of Mormon doesn't know. No supposed preachers or pastors or prophets know. No one knows what happens after death. No one. And so to assert anything that happens after death, if I were to tell you something that happens after death, this or that happens after death, I would be asserting my imagination, or a belief in the beliefs of someone else, probably, right? I read it in the Bible or a book, and then I tell you what happens after death. Well, that's just me believing the beliefs of someone else. Heaven or hell is after death, but you don't know that. You haven't experienced that. And so you're speaking religious language. So you're speaking of a belief that you have absolutely no knowledge of. So you've never been to heaven. You've never been to hell. You have no idea what happens after death. You're taking the beliefs of ancient human beings and you're telling us that it's true. But you just believe the ancient beliefs of ancient human beings. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm just telling you this to demolish and help dismantle your beliefs so that you can go on your own path and find out who you really are. Because who you really are has nothing to do with religion. Religion is bondage. Who you really are is everything. Who you really are deep down behind the ego, who you really are is existence itself. You are existence. You are the universe, the cosmic energy of all things. That's what you really are behind the ego, behind the illusion of the ego. That's what you really are. But as long as you're trapped in the bondage of religion, you can't know that. You'll never know that. You'll never have the awareness of who you really are, your true self-nature, the nature of reality, which is what you are. You are reality. You're not separate from it. You're not separate from existence. You're not separate from the universe. You are existence. You are the universe. You're a wave of the ocean of being, which makes you the ocean of being itself. Of course, you think Jesus doesn't exist. You never had a relationship with him because it's impossible to have a relationship with somebody who doesn't exist. Now, I believed, like you, I believed that I had a relationship with Jesus at one time. I was a genuine, sincere Christian, and I imagined the relationship that I had with God. I imagined the relationship I had with Jesus, and I imagined it really well. I mean, I had a great imagination, just like you. You have this strong imagination that has you convinced, or maybe you're not telling the truth, but has you convinced that you have a relationship with this so-called Jesus, and you don't. It's just imagination, because it's impossible to have a relationship with someone who doesn't exist. I had a friend called Jesus, maybe it's Jesus, but he was a real person. It was a nickname. But see, it was a real person. You could touch them, you could talk to them, you could smell them when they came around, right? Yeah. Taylor, those words were written so long after the supposed life of Jesus that they are absolutely irrelevant. They're written after the destruction of Jerusalem, and that's what the Gospels are all about, the destruction of Jerusalem. So anytime you read about the coming of Jesus in the Gospels, it's talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. Let me show you. Let me break out the Bible. Right? So he's going through, so remember, Jesus never said any of these words. These words were all put into Jesus' mouth. The supposed red letters, they're not red letters meaning Jesus said them. He never spoke these words. These words were written years and years and years and years after the supposed life and death of Jesus. So these words are not Jesus' words at all. They're fabrications. They're written as though Jesus had spoke them. And so in Matthew 23, the writer of Matthew, who is not an eyewitness of anything, has Jesus announcing these woes on the scribes and Pharisees, right? He's going on and on, pronouncing judgment on the scribes and Pharisees, and he says, "Truly I say to you," oh, and listen, it's all about Jerusalem. It has nothing to do with today. It has nothing to do with today. But in 23, he says, they have him saying, "On you may come all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of the innocent Abel to the blood of Zechariah the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar." The sanctuary and the altar, the temple, right? "Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation," right? And he's talking about Jerusalem. "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it." So he's talking about Jerusalem. He says, "Upon you, this generation, will come all these things," right? So the disciples hear this and they go, "What things?" And Jesus, it says, when Jesus left the temple and was going away, his disciples came and pointed out all the buildings of the temple. And it says that Jesus said, "You see all these, do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." Okay, what's he talking about? The temple, the destruction of the temple. That's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with anything else but the destruction of the temple. And so the disciples hear this and they go to him privately, which is very important to understand. They go to him privately and ask him, "When will these things be?" Remember, he just said, "These things will come upon this generation." And he's talking about his coming. "When will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming and the end?" And Jesus starts talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. And then right after that, he says, this generation will not pass away until all these things, the same words that the disciples say, all these things take place. So these things include his second coming, the destruction of the temple. He says not one stone will be left upon another. It's all about the destruction of Jerusalem. That's all it has to do with. So these human beings, these Jewish human beings, or some people think it was the Romans, and it could have been, but the Jewish human beings, at least as far as I'm concerned right now in my research, these Jewish human beings who had lived through the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, the supposed dwelling place of God, they are asking the question, how could this happen? How could God allow this city, the land, the temple, his very dwelling place, and his people? How could he allow us to be destroyed like this by the Romans? And their answer is the Gospels. That's what the answer is. So they're trying to understand, how do we continue to exist as a religion? And so you see in the New Testament through the Gospels, you see this very physical religion like Judaism, right? Second Temple Judaism becoming a very spiritual religion. There's a reason for that, because the physical temple is gone. The temple is gone. The very physical religion has been destroyed, and now you have a spiritual religion, and thus you have the New Testament. So, I mean, that's it. That's all it is. I mean, I could go on and on and on into the details and read scripture after scripture after scripture showing you that it has nothing to do with you today, that it has everything to do with the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE by the Romans. That's what it is all about, and it's all written after the fact. So the Gospels were written after 70 CE about the events of 70 CE, and they made up the stories of Jesus. Everything that you read about Jesus in the New Testament is a fabrication. It's a fiction. It's no different than reading Harry Potter. Now, there may have been a Jesus guy that the stories are loosely based on. These stories were told over and over and over, and they grew like the telephone game, and you have all these miracle stories that are just growing and getting bigger. But you read Mark, which was the first gospel written, and so much is left out of Mark. You read Mark, and it's not that spectacular. And they know that, so Matthew comes along and says, I'm going to write a little bit better than Mark, and let's add some miracles, and let's add a detailed resurrection story that contradicts a lot of the other stuff. And then Luke comes along and goes, man, I think I can do a lot better than Matthew. And he adds on to Matthew, and let's build on to Matthew. And I'm certain that Luke didn't want really Matthew to continue on being read, that it was written that his gospel is the one to be read. So you have this competing gospel situation, but they all end up in the canon. But they're all an explanation of the destruction of Jerusalem. That's all it is. That's it. That's all it is. All right, let me look at some comments now, because I've been talking a lot. I see a lot of people scared and lying in the comments too. Can you upload this live to YouTube? Yes, and it's streaming to YouTube right now. So as soon as the live's over, as long as I don't lose, thank you, Candace. As long as I don't lose connection again with Wi-Fi and I drop my YouTube link, it'll be on YouTube as well. So when I end this live, it'll process into YouTube and be there for you to watch as well. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for asking. You woke up, bro. You're great. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you very much. Everything you're saying is true. Thank you, Wiccan Moon. I appreciate that. I have so many haters. It is nice sometimes to see some encouragement. Taisha, what's up? Nazgaroth. I know that's Dr. Freeman, isn't it? YouTube. Oh yeah, YouTube has a delay. YouTube, how many? I can't see the rest of that comment. YouTube is delayed. It is. It sure is. Can you prove these points, or is it subjective? It's not subjective. It's research that I've done. And yeah, I mean, like when I was reading through some of the scriptures there, showing you that the second coming of Jesus has nothing to do with the future, that it was human beings writing after the destruction of Jerusalem to explain the destruction of Jerusalem. And, you know, I mean, there's so much that goes into this. And I've written about it on rickquestionsthings.com. If you go there, you can read. Actually, a couple of posts ago, 2 or 3 posts ago, the post is titled, Why I Am No Longer a Christian. And you can read some of it there. I have another post called Reasons for Departure. You can read that. There's another post. because I don't just write about my departure from Christianity. I do write about other stuff as well, but I'll tell you some of the posts that you can look for. Why I'm no longer a Christian. Let's see, Beyond the Dance of Atheism, Theism. That's really about why I don't label myself. Let's see, I write about living in the present and all that. But here's another one, the truth behind the resurrection of Jesus. Why does that story exist? Why is there a story of the resurrection of Jesus? Because Jesus did not raise from the dead. He wasn't raised from the dead. Jesus, if there was a Jesus, he died. My wife agrees with you too. Awesome. I love the name. Jesus wasn't raised from the dead. He didn't raise from the dead. But I write about that as well. You can read that. It's called The Truth Behind the Resurrection of Jesus. And I write about other stuff again, the myth of mindfulness, living in the present, non-duality. There's another post called What is Meant by the Coming of Jesus. So if you look through the posts and you just dig through the posts, you're going to see, you can also go to the category at the very bottom of my webpage, rickquestionsthings.com, click on Christianity, if these are the things that you're interested in. And pretty much most of the posts, and I don't have many, 1, 2, 3, I have one on hell, called Nothing to Fear, Leaving Christianity, Losing Fear, and Finding True Peace. And I mean that. That's what happens when you leave religion, not just Christianity, but religion. When you leave, what's up, Jesus Christ? When you just subscribe to YouTube, nice, thank you, I appreciate that. When you leave Christianity, you leave fear. You leave, and not just Christianity, that's what I was saying. When you leave Islam, when you leave Mormonism, when you leave Judaism, when you leave Jehovah's Witnessism, when you leave any of those religions that have this idea of separation between this God out there and you, which is an absolute fiction. That doesn't exist. There is no God out there separated from you. When you leave those religions, you leave fear, you lose fear, you find peace. Hopefully you can find peace because you go on your own path. As long as you go on your own path and you start to inquire about things from your true nature, right? Not just taking in things that books tell you, that preachers tell you, that Bibles tell you, that religions tell you, but going on your own path and taking that step on your own path and going, I'm going to go on this path. I'm going to ask the questions of myself. I'm going to turn this stuff around and not say, give me the answers out there, some God or some preacher or some book. Give me the answers. No, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to say, you know what? Let me go on this journey. Who am I? Let me ask, who am I? Don't tell me who I am. God this, God that, preacher this, book that. Don't tell me who I am. Let me ask the question, who am I? Who am I? And I'll go on that path of self-discovery and self-realization. That's where you find peace. That's where you find truth. You are what you're looking for. You are what you're seeking in religion. You're looking for something in religion, right? And you are what you're seeking. You just have missed it because religion is bondage and it never lets you find who you really are. You can't ever discover who you really are in religion. It's bondage, right? There's freedom. That's right. One thing I'm really getting tired of is it's not religion, it's a relationship with Jesus. So a religion, right? It is wild, right? How people say, well, it's not religion, it's a relationship. And that is imagination. You can't have a relationship with someone who doesn't exist. And Jesus does not exist. That's like saying you have a relationship with Muhammad, or saying you have a relationship with Joseph Smith, or saying you have a relationship with Harry Potter. You may have a relationship with Harry Potter, but it's an imaginary one. You have a relationship with what's written about Harry Potter, not about Harry Potter himself, because Harry Potter doesn't exist. 7, what's up, my friend, the Jesus fantasy, right? So you can have a relationship with Jesus as it's written, but not with a real Jesus, because that Jesus doesn't exist. You can have a relationship with Harry Potter. God's got to go to bed. I got to go to bed. Thank you, my friend. Hey, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. You can have a relationship with Harry Potter, but you don't have a relationship with the real Harry Potter because he doesn't exist. You have a relationship with what's written about this fictional character, Harry Potter, and the same is true with Jesus. I do have a relationship with Harry Potter. Yeah, thank you, God. I love that, dude. That's so funny. the positivity and how you speak. Well done. Thank you, Sid, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know I'm missing a lot of comments, and I'm just trying to catch them every once in a while. So forgive me for missing your comments. I know I'm missing a lot of comments, but I'm trying, and I catch a comment here and there, and I catch a comment here and there. So eventually I'll see your comments. Maybe he'll notice me. I just did. So yeah, there we go again. So NWO is constantly saying he failed to trust and have a relationship with Jesus, so he teaches he doesn't exist. So, and that's not true. I did imagine, just like you imagine that you have a relationship with Jesus, I did imagine that I had a relationship with Jesus. I believed in him wholeheartedly. I prayed, I fasted, I studied, I cried to him. I would pray all hours of the night in the closet. I mean, I was the most genuine, sincere, radical Christian I've ever known in my life. And that's being honest, 100%. And I prayed, and I knew this God, and that's all I wanted was to know God. And I wanted to be like Christ, right? Because he was everything to me. And I believed that I had a relationship with Jesus, but I didn't, because Jesus doesn't exist. So it was imagination, just like it is with you in NWO. You imagine that you have a relationship with Jesus, just like you can have a relationship with Harry Potter. That's the only kind of relationship that you can have with Jesus. I went to seminary. I got a master's of arts in religion. I learned Hebrew. I learned Greek. I've translated more of the Bible than most Christians have read, probably including in NWO. Freeing myself from Christianity brought a lot of joy into my life. No shame, no fear of hell, etc. Exactly. And that's the bondage that I'm saying you can be free of, right? You can be free of that bondage, of that fear, of that imagination, that perpetuation of the illusion of separation, which doesn't exist. Religion perpetuates and pushes that illusion of separation. There's this God separate from me. There is me separate from others. There are Christians or Muslims or whatever it is separate from the others out there. It's all about separation. And that's why you have wars, religious wars like the ones going on right now, because it just perpetuates the illusion of separation. Religion is bondage. And once you break free of that, and that illusion of separation crumbles and starts to break down, and you start to see who you really are, which is existence itself. You start to see everything as it is, which is yourself as the universe, the energy of the cosmos. Energy is not created or destroyed, and it takes on all kinds of forms, like me and this coffee mug and this microphone and this computer and you and all these things. It's energy. It's the flow of energy. It's the flow of the cosmic energy of all things, and you're not separate from it. It doesn't make us separate at all. It makes us the same thing. Just because your skin makes you believe you're separate from everything outside of you, you're not. You can't live without the sun, just like you can't live without your heart. Why do you think you're separate from the sun? You're not. You are dependent on the sun just as much as you're dependent on your heart. Just because it's outside of your skin doesn't make it separate. Well, that's just an analogy of all things, everything. Nothing is separate from you. Nothing is separate from anything else. It all goes together and flows together inseparably, right? You can't separate any of it out without destroying the whole, because it is a whole. The whole thing is existence. It's the universe. It's the flow of the energy of the cosmos is what it is. Talon, thank you so much. I appreciate you. What's your view on the afterlife? I've talked about that a little bit already. But I've never died before. I haven't experienced death. But knowing the true nature of the self, knowing who I really am, what I just described, that I am existence along with you, your existence, we are waves of the ocean of being, which just makes us the ocean of being. Jesus, Rick. Makes us the ocean of being itself. Death ultimately is an illusion. But if someone asks me what happens after death, well, I don't know, because I've never died. This ego, me, has never died. I've never experienced death before. So for me to tell you what happens after death would be imagination or belief in the beliefs of others, right? The Bible, maybe I believe the Bible about what happens after death, but that's just people writing their beliefs down. in a time so far separated and removed from us today that it has nothing to do with us. It's absolutely irrelevant. Or maybe I read the Quran and I believe what it tells me about the afterlife. Well, that's, again, just me accepting and believing the beliefs of other people, ancient and far removed. So all of those stories, when people tell you what happens after death, it just doesn't, it's imagination. No one knows, because there are near-death experiences, but they're just near-death experiences. They're never death experiences. You don't ever find an absolute death experience with someone comes back from actually dying and being like dead. There's always a near-death experience, and it's not. There's so much going on in the brain and activity still happening in the brain, even if it's just a little bit, and there are chemicals being released that causes all kinds of illusions and dreams and all these things released that create all these, firings in the brain, and people are resuscitated and they come back and they go, oh my, I went to hell, or I went to heaven, or I went to, this land of bliss, or I went to, this light, or there's so many stories, so many conflicting stories. So no one really knows what happens after death. Astral projection. I don't know anything about that either. I really don't. Somebody asked me that Friday, and I don't know anything about it. I found a way it doesn't censor it. Oh, really? Maybe say Deemster. Okay, I wonder if I can say that. Let's see. I'm still here. Faded into black a couple times, but never into a place. Oh, there you go, Dr. Freeman. There you go. Rick, why do you think your inexperience of Jesus means everyone else is crazy? Sorry for putting my hand in front of that, Cam. So I don't think everyone else is crazy. I don't say that. I've never said that. That would be disrespectful, and I'm not disrespectful of anyone. And I haven't been disrespectful to any of you guys. And it's not an inexperience of Jesus. But the reason I know that Jesus is not true and that Christianity isn't true is because I know, oh, thank you, the Watts mug. So you can go to rickquestionsthings.com. I have those there as well. But yeah, this is my favorite mug. I use it every day. I'm definitely crazy. It's okay. No, it's because I have done the research. I've translated more scripture than most Christians have read, and I've studied the historical context. I studied Second Temple Judaism specifically, and I've read Josephus. Have you ever read Josephus? Read the works of Josephus, all of them, especially the Jewish-Roman War, the Jewish War, but read them all. And you will see that it has absolutely nothing to do with anything that everybody thought it did. You will see the truth of Christianity, which is that it's not true. It's just historically contexted, a product of human beings trying to understand the context of their times, trying to understand the events of their times, trying to understand why Jerusalem was destroyed, right? And that's all it is. It has no truth to it. And I can put your God, whoever that is, to the test, any test you like, and they will never show up. Ever, whether it's Jesus, Muhammad, Yahweh, Allah, it doesn't matter. I can challenge your God right here on this live in any way, shape, or form that you choose. And he or she or whoever it is will never, ever, there you go, Dr. Freeman, yeah. Yeah, it's not that smart. None of them will ever show up or respond. And I know that for a fact. And I can do anything without fear, testing your gods, putting your gods to the test. Crickets, exactly, Johnny. Crickets. There will be crickets. Dare ya. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to do anything to get me kicked off, but anything. Show up. Are you powerless? You're absolutely powerless. Absolutely powerless if you don't do something on this live right here, right now, in the next 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Without fear, I say that. I've even put them to the test too, like me, because I know it's not going to happen, and Jet comes in with the lightning. Thank you. It'll never happen. It'll never happen, and you can do it too, and you can put your God to any test you want to, and nothing will ever happen. Ask the question why. Why is your God so silent? Why? Because he doesn't exist. Now that you know that, go on your own path of self-discovery. Find out who you really are. Stop believing what the books tell you, what your preachers tell you, what this religion or that religion tells you, because it isn't true. Wake up. Break free of the bondage that the religion has you in, that programming, that closed-mindedness. Keep spreading your well-informed truth. Thank you, my friend, God Delusion. I appreciate you so much. Why should I believe you? I don't want you to believe me. I want you to hear these things and then go test them yourself. Hear these things and go on your own path. Put them to the test. Research. Do your own research. But break out of the programming. Break free of the programming, that default mechanism that was handed down to you because you were born in the place that you were born and have had people inject you with whatever they've injected you with. Go on your own path. Go on your own path. Go on your own journey of self-realization and discovery. God is testing you. Crickets is all I hear. I've tested God and nothing ever happened. They won't listen. We're actually the lucky ones. We get to experience raw reality. Right, Gus? Gus Dominus. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. That's right. And I like the way you put it because I don't judge anybody who is still in religion, in the bondage of religion, because I know where they're coming from. I've been there. And I like the way you put, we're the lucky ones. You know, we have the awareness of this, you know, that religion is bondage and that religion isn't true. There's no place to judge. In fact, judgment implies separation as well. And so there really is no need to judge anything. So I like the way you put that. But they won't. You're right. They won't listen. They won't listen because they are programmed. They are in that bondage and cannot escape. And I've been there. I know. And it's so hard to share that experience without expectation. But expectation is rough because expectation usually lets us down. But yes, I like it. What's up, Tasha? I know that YouTube is a little delayed. Is there a deconstruction guidebook? Maybe I should write one. You know, I always say if I were to package up my deconstruction experience, I would begin it with a study of hell. I would begin my deconstruction package to hand someone. And the first thing that would be dismantled is hell, the doctrine of hell, because that's where the fear predominantly comes from, right? And so when people are deconstructing, a lot of times they're hanging on to that fear of hell. Thank you, Zev. They're hanging on to that fear of hell and they can't quite shake it. And so if you can deconstruct that doctrine of hell first, just came to check out the other side. It's much more peaceful. If you can deconstruct the doctrine of hell first and let go of that doctrine of hell, that dogma of hell, eternal conscious torment or something like that, that makes your deconstruction experience a lot easier because you have nothing to fear after that. Because in fact, when I was going through my deconstruction, the first thing that was dismantled for me, the first thing that I realized wasn't true, the first big domino for me to fall was the doctrine of hell, eternal conscious torment. And so actually, when I was still a Christian, I became a Christian universalist. And I believed that all things were going to be reconciled to God through Jesus, including Satan in the end, right? So all of creation was going to be reconciled to God through Jesus. By the accomplishment of Jesus through the gospel. And that, being free from that fear of hell, helped me go on a path of questioning. It helped me be free to ask questions, some of the deeper, harder questions that most Christians never think of or even dare to ask. And I just kept digging. When I discovered that hell didn't exist, and that had a lot to do. What's up, Austin? Yes. When I discovered hell didn't exist, and that had a lot to do predominantly with a study of history, the historical context and the historical meaning of Gehenna, the son of Hinnom, the valley of Hinnom, or the valley of the son of Hinnom. Gehenna is just a transliteration of the Hebrew for son of Hinnom, and you find Gehenna, the son of Hinnom, in the Old Testament, and it was just a land of corpse and destruction. I mean, it was used as in language to describe what God was going to do to his people, namely destroy them by other people, like the Babylonians, and and in the same way it's used in the New Testament. It's used to describe what was coming on Jerusalem, which was the destruction by the Romans. So when I understood that, it set me free from a lot of the fear, and I could ask the hard questions, and I could go on the path that wherever the path led, and which eventually led me out, because I kept on studying and researching the historical context. And when I realized the New Testament is simply a product of its historical context, a product of human beings in their own historical context. It has nothing to do with us. It had everything to do with what they were going through in that time, namely the destruction of Jerusalem. Then I couldn't believe anymore. And so by extension, I started studying, having a critical study of the Old Testament even. And I realized, man, the whole Bible, the Old Testament is just a legitimization of the people of Israel. It was written so that the people of Israel would be legitimized as God's people and a nation and a people that own the land, that have the rights to the land. That's why the Old Testament exists. Why does the New Testament exist? To help perpetuate the religion after its destruction in 70 CE. That's why the New Testament exists. That's why. And so you look at this and you go, man, these people, this small little area and this small group of people wrote this stuff to help them exist as a people. Why are we believing it today? Jesus isn't coming back. It has nothing to do with us. There is no hell. There is no judgment. This God doesn't exist. That God was made in the image of those people in that historical context, made in the image of man. Man isn't made in the image of God. God is made in the image of man. And therefore, I said, I can't do it anymore. I can't believe intellectually. I've seen too much. And this is just a tip of the iceberg. I mean, I could talk for months on this stuff and tell you why. And then that extends out to all religions. I mean, Islam doesn't exist apart from Judaism and Christianity, and Islam isn't true either. The Quran is a product of human beings, just like the Book of Mormon is a product of human beings, and it all has this setting and intention and beginning. And when you know it and you realize it and you come to find out what it is, it's impossible to believe it anymore. And here's the analogy I usually use. It's like walking into a dark room, stepping on a rope, and believing, like really believing that rope is a snake. And then so you run over to the wall and you flip on the light switch and you look back and you see, it's not a snake. It was just a rope. And there's nothing, once you realize that it was never a snake, that it was always a rope, there's nothing you could ever do to make yourself believe that rope is a snake ever again. It's impossible. It's intellectually impossible to believe it ever again. And that's how religion is for me. That's how Christianity is for me. When I realized that it was never a snake, it was always a rope. It was never true. This stuff was never true. I believed it wholeheartedly, but it was never true. Literally right. I could never believe it again, ever. I was done. Jacob, I love you too. This guy's going to end up in hell, somebody says. I hate to disappoint you, my friend. I know it disappoints you that I'm not going to end up in hell. But I won't, because hell doesn't exist. It's a belief. It is purely a belief. Yes, I've read the Quran as well, and the Book of Mormon. Oh, I saw that. Hold on. What do you know about Jesus possibly being Flavian Titus Flavius? I don't know. I mean, I know it's a theory, and there's some weight behind it. I have watched at least most of Caesar's Messiah recently. Thank you, God Delusion. Just recently, I'd seen a lot of people posting about it, so I watched most of it. I didn't finish it, but I think a lot of what is in that documentary is right on. I mean, it's along the same lines of, do you understand the historical context and why Christianity exists? But they are. I don't know. I just don't know enough about that theory to say, is it true or not? Is it right or not? But what I do know, and what I would agree with in that theory, is that the New Testament isn't true, and that it has its historical agenda, that has its socio-political agenda. Whether that's Jewish people post 70 CE trying to continue their religion in a spiritual way, or whether that's what is the documentary? It's called Caesar's Messiah. Caesar's Messiah, and I need to watch the whole thing. And there's a book on it as well. Or whether that's the Romans trying to create this more peaceful religion so that there aren't any more revolts or anything like that. Either could be the case. But in my course of study, when I was studying these things out, when I was in ministry, when I was deconstructing and all that kind of stuff, what I recognized was that what I came to see is that it is a group of people that are basically creating this religion to explain something that happened, and that could fit with either of those theories. But I have zero doubt about that. Zero doubt. I mean, I have absolutely zero doubt. I don't believe it. I know it. That the New Testament is a product of its historical context, of human beings trying to understand why God would allow Jerusalem to be destroyed. Or was it the Romans? It could have been the Romans, telling that story from a spiritual Jewish standpoint. Let's see. How do you find community, Brenda says. Or Brianda. How do you find community meaning in this postmodern, hyper-individualistic, godless world? How do you find meaning? Well, there is no meaning to find if you mean like going out there and finding this overarching meaning of everything. Meaning implies separation. Meaning is a religious concept. Here's what I would say to that. When you wake up to the awareness of the present moment as the only moment that there is, that this is all that there is right here, right now, and not only that, separation is an illusion. So in this moment, all that exists is existence itself, and I am that, and you are that, and separation is an illusion between us. It doesn't exist, or between anything. And that all that exists in this present moment that only exists is the energy, the flowing energy of the cosmos, right? The universal energy, the energy of the universe, or however you want to put it, or the atoms, whatever, the matter, whatever you want to call it. I mean, everything is energy. Everything is energy. When you understand that, meaning actually becomes irrelevant, because just that awareness is meaning itself. Awareness of that fact is meaning itself. When you understand that I am all that exists, I'm not separate from it, but I am the energy of it. I am existence. I am the universe. I am the energy of the cosmos. I am all this. This is all me. And I don't mean the ego me. I'm not talking about the ego here. I'm talking about existence. I am existence. Just like a wave is the ocean. The wave is not separate from the ocean. The wave is the ocean. And that's what I mean. When you have an awareness of that, and most people can't understand this. Most people can't. Hey, Judy, thank you. Most people can't. Thank you so much. Can't understand this. It's just impossible for most people to understand, and they think it's ridiculous, and they just can't comprehend it. It goes like this because it's so totally foreign and contrary to ego. The ego hates it. The ego goes, wait, what? Wait a minute. Wait, I'm not a real person. Like I'm not that important. Well, that's not the way to think of it. You are all importance because you are existence itself. Well, what is there besides you? And I don't mean the ego again. It can be confused. But when you understand that, what is meaning? Meaning is this. This is what meaning is. Meaning is existence, to be existence, to be in this moment at all times, because that's all there is. That's all you can be. And when you know that you are not separate from anything, that you are all things, you are. Just say, I am. You could say, I am. I love doing that because most people think it's blasphemy. I am. When you have the awareness that I am, then that's meaning. What other meaning could there be? That's ultimate meaning. Any other meaning out there, or I need to search for meaning or figure out what meaning is, it just becomes irrelevant at that point. Thank you, Mel Joe. I appreciate that. No, that's not spirituality, because I don't. Spirituality is just a word too. That's science. We are the universe. We are the energy of the universe. We are energy, and energy is not created or destroyed. We are energy. It's not just the point of life is that it's pointless. It's not spirituality. It's not made up. I mean, it's science. We are this system. We are this flow. We are this process. We are this organic process that's inseparable. Nothing can be separated uh, or created or destroyed. We are it. That's what we are. The Grand Juke. I just saw a comment. You're officially my favorite person to speak words today. Thank you, Meljo. I appreciate that. It's definitely less woo-woo magical than the English language makes it sound. Yes. That's why people have a hard time, yeah, conceptualizing it. Right on, right on. People assume it's some spiritual woo-woo. Exactly. Meaning is created. It's a blank canvas. You choose what to paint. I suggest happy little trees. There are no mistakes. That's right. Those are happy little bushes now. I knew I'd like your channel when I saw you wearing an Alan Watts shirt. Thank you. Yes, yes. Oh, I love Alan Watts. When I left Christianity, and intellectually departed Christianity, I might add, I did become an atheist for a while, because I don't label myself anything. I don't say that I'm anything. I'm not an atheist. I'm not a theist. I'm not an agnostic. I don't like to label myself at all. In fact, I wrote about that on rickquestionsthings.com. You can go to my website, and there's a post called "Beyond the Dance of Atheism and Theism," where I talk about labels. I don't label myself. Yet no labels, right? What shirt am I wearing tonight? So this one's called meditation reflection or something like that. It's one of my favorites. I love this shirt. It's on rickquestionsthings.com too. Thank you, Tasha. But I did become, like, I swung to the opposite side and became this angry atheist because I had wasted so much of my life, you know. And at some point I came across Alan Watts. I'd never heard of him before. And I just somehow came across him and heard something he said. And that's right, Freeman. Dr. Freeman, that's right. I heard something he said, and I was like, "What did I just hear?" This guy said something that piqued my interest, and I thought, "Wait, this is something different. This is something I haven't heard before." And man, I love Alan Watts. I really do, and I've loved him for over a decade now. He's just incredible, incredible. Okay, so I guess I've spoken for long enough. I can take some guests, and just for a little while. I'm not going to stay on too late. And maybe have some genuine conversation, hopefully. Limitless life, Alan Watts. Yes, Meljo, thank you. Again, I appreciate that. Um, Hopefully have some genuine conversation. Would you be willing to talk in DMs? Yeah, sure. I never know, top or bottom. Oh, now I do. Now I know. It's official. I saw someone else pop up. I know that the top is first. Man, I really have to use the bathroom, but I guess I'll wait until after this. I'm not going to have guests on for long, so I'm gonna bring on guests, and we'll converse for just a little bit and have some good, genuine, sincere conversation. And then, man, you know what? Also, never mind. And then I will let somebody else up. Hey, what's up, Judy?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good, I'm well, I'm well.
Good.
I am just on here, like, not to have a heated debate or.
Good.
I'm just here to ask some questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I like conversation.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, so, just for context, I'm an Irish girl. I grew up in a Catholic family.
Mhm.
Religion was a big part of our family. So I do get the whole idea of religion being bondage. I understand that because the amount of times I had to go to mass, my God, was okay. You know that. However, when I went to university and then worked, like I got to know people from all different kinds of religious backgrounds, and for them, I got to appreciate that religion
Hey,
for them
Patrina.
is a way of for someone that.
Yeah, a little bit. I can unpack it a little bit, and I've talked about it a lot tonight. Obviously, I don't know how long you've been on the live, but um,
Like minutes, yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. So I think to put it essentially, the primarily the bondage that I speak of is that it perpetuates the illusion of separation, and it is built upon separation, the illusion of separation. So it begins with a separate God out there somewhere and a separate creation. There's a separate me and a separate God. There's a separate me and separate others. There are Christians or Muslims or whatever religion it is, or Mormons, and then everybody else out there. There is just this predominant separation that it perpetuates, us against them, us against God, or us with God, or whatever it is. And that is an absolute illusion. And so when religion promises things like bliss or peace, or the peace that surpasses understanding, and all those things, and understand, I mean, I've been a sincere, genuine Christian. I went to seminary, I got a master's of arts in religion, and went to Westminster Theological Seminary. I was a pastor for several years, and I understand the peace that I felt then. But the peace that I experienced outside of religion, when I went on my own path of self-discovery, and that illusion of separation crumbled, and I realized, I had this awareness that, wait, there isn't some God out there that exists that is judging me, or that I need to be reconciled to, or there's going to be a judgment, or whatever, or that created me and I'm subservient to, or whatever. All of that is just a fiction for me, is what I'm saying. That was a huge step in the direction of actual peace, because then I realized, wait, there is just this existence. This existence is what there is, and I'm not having to live up to this standard that is put on me by this contextual God, this historically contexted God that really is irrelevant for me today. Like, I am existence itself, and I can live as existence in this moment and not worry about the afterlife, not worry about these stories that are so far removed from me historically that they're really irrelevant. I can be here right now in this moment, and that's what's relevant. That's what's relevant to me. And that's freedom. That's peace, it's joy, it's bliss. And I don't have to think about any of that other stuff that's irrelevant to me now.
Okay. Just to give you more context on me, I agree with you on so much of that. So I actually grew up in a Christian family, like I told you, but
Mm-hmm.
I became a Christian, as I say, as 21. I then went to Belfast Bible College and then became, heaven forbid, president of Belfast Bible College in my third year.
You're a
Because
traitor.
I wanted to go to church, and I wanted to join a small group, and everyone wanted to like share their deepest things. And then I got to 26, and I was like, what the hell are we doing? Because we're talking about like, oh yeah, I swore today, or I had a bad thought, and I was like,
Yeah.
hell, I'm going through way worse than that. So
Right.
I went into journalism. I traveled a lot, and like I just told you, experienced India, Uganda, a lot of other religions, and my horizons are broadened. And I like, if there's any Christian in this chat, I don't want to like put down your belief. I would never want to deconstruct someone's faith for the sake of it, but it is interesting because we are told so much,
Mm-hmm.
and we are taught so much that
Yeah.
actually you have to have critical thinking
Yeah,
to be
for
like,
sure.
why do I believe what I believe?
Right.
And this
Right.
is so important. It's so important
And,
because if you don't, you're literally just a goldfish swimming
mm-hmm.
around and around a ball.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right. Exactly. And I like
what
what
is
you said, why do I believe what I believe? And even to go further, why do I believe? Period. Why do I believe anything? If you can even take a step back and go, wait, what all do I believe? Like, what are, out of everything that I hold to and think I know, what really comes down to a belief? And there's so much more than just even religion. I mean, there's so much that we hold on to that's pure belief that we really don't have a reason to hold on to, besides something emotional or, or whatnot. But yeah, go ahead. That's a good point.
no, 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 you're good. I like, and so I came home from traveling a lot. My mom is like a very devout Christian woman, and she was like, "But God says this." And I'm like, "But where? Can you give me the scripture? Can you give me the context?"
Yeah.
And she'd be like, "No, but it's faith, Judy. It's all about faith. I'm like, this idea of faith, like, like in any other. So I work in the journalism world. Like, I also know people who work in the scientist world. Like, I'm like, we don't operate on like blind faith. Like, you operate on evidence
Mm-hmm.
and like what's logical and rational. And
Yeah.
like this idea of like, but just believe, just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's
Right.
not. You wouldn't tell that to any other person in either context. But when it comes to Christianity or other faiths, it's like, oh, but you just have to have faith. I'm
Yeah.
like, how is that okay? Like that
Exactly.
just feels so simple to me. That like it's not okay. Like it so frustrates me.
Right.
At the same time, the reason I came on here is that I don't want to disrespect any religion. I
No,
know
sure.
people grew up in
Of
different
course.
backgrounds, and I still struggle with this because I'm like, there might be a reality of God.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
And so I want to make it normal for us to know it's okay to still be confused.
Oh,
It's actually okay.
absolutely.
There's no
That's
shame in that.
right.
There's no shame. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, exactly. Because I've been there. I've been there. And that's what I was, oh, you weren't on very long, but what I was saying is I don't judge anyone who is in any religion. There's no room for judgment because I understand. Like I understand that mindset. I understand the default mechanism. I understand the motivations. I understand the conditioning. I understand all that stuff, and it's hard, hard, hard to step out of that conditioning. It really is. Huh?
it is. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I basically want to normalize that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know there's probably a lot of people on here who are super defensive
Yeah.
and very much. And I would be like that too. I literally was president
Yeah.
of the Bible College.
Uh-huh.
I get it. Like, but it's okay. It's okay if you
Yeah.
don't believe. It's okay if you don't. Like,
That's
we
right.
have free will. That's actually the point of Christianity. Like, God gave Adam and Eve free will.
Yeah.
That's literally what the Bible says. So you actually do have that. And if
Mm-hmm.
you believe in the Bible, that's there. If you don't, you still have it. So anyway,
Well, that's yeah. I appreciate you coming on. That was really good. I like it. And I think that it's easy for people to hear what I say and get defensive about it because it is hard to hear. And people are like, why do you keep talking about this? Well, one, I really do enjoy talking about these things. It was so much of my life. It was so much of my life,
mine too.
Right.
And it's huge to like rewire that. You're like, oh my
Absolutely.
god, what did I do? Like,
Uh-huh.
it's massive.
Yeah, yeah. And I have, like I've got a master's degree in it. I've studied it so much and I enjoy talking about these things, but it's not all I talk about. It's most of what I talk about on TikTok because of my background. But, I tell people go to rickquestionthings.com because you'll see that I talk about all kinds of stuff, just being at peace, living in the present, experiencing the nature of reality, things like that. In fact, I've been working through like a Zen poem called the Shin Shin Ming, this ancient Zen poem. It's one of the first Zen poems that we know of, called the Shin Shin Ming, and I'm writing just kind of journeying through the Shin Shin Ming and kind of talking about the context of the Shin Shin Ming and my understanding of it as I'm reading it. So there's all kinds of stuff that I write about, but I also I do enjoy talking about these things because I do also enjoy, like I tell people all the time, look, there are 10,000 Christian lives on right now. If what I say is just like firing you up and making you angry or scared, scroll. All you got to do is scroll, and the next live you'll be on probably is a Christian live, and you'll be okay. But there are a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of people through here that have heard what I had to say, and it gave them that little push, right, to go, wait a minute, there's more to life than this. You mean I can question these things? Like I can actually go on another path, Yeah.
That's it. Like it's like people get defensive because they are so hung up on what they've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming from a background of like I've been taught it. Like
Yeah.
so I get it. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but you've got to question why you believe what you believe. And at
Right.
the same time, like it's okay to doubt. Like that's reality.
Yeah.
What you're facing is literally authenticity. Whenever you feel like, oh, I don't know what I believe, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're being authentic.
Right.
You're
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
just question it, research it, come to your own decision.
Yeah.
You know? I
Definitely.
think it's just that is so freeing, and I just want people to feel free in that, like
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
That's fine. That's what you know.
Yeah.
No question about that. But come to your own decision, because
Yeah.
then you'll finally be free
Uh-huh.
to make your own.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Judy. I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, it was a pleasure talking with you.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. Let's see. Oh, so now I'm confused because in my requests, now it's all jumbled. It's not the order that it was in. So now I don't know who requested first. When I download my TikTok lives, it's so weird too, because when I start taking guests, the views drop off. But when I start taking lives on my TikTok replay, it pauses the live at that point. From the point, thank you, number 7. When I take my first guest, the live on the replay pauses and it freezes up. But I'm streaming on YouTube as well, so you can hear the guests and you can see the action of the conversation on YouTube, thankfully. But the YouTube stream pauses for some reason, so it's really strange. Thank you for the rose. All right. Man, I really have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to take one more and then go to the bathroom. Let's see. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, doing well. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Is it Brianda?
Brianda, but Bree's fine.
Bree. Okay, that's interesting. I've never seen Brianda before. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Unique.
So I have like a very similar path as you. I questioned and I became an angry atheist. I found Alan Watts.
Really?
Said that I was like, no way.
Oh, that's so crazy. Yes, that's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, his stuff is timeless.
Oh, it's incredible.
But I really struggle because I live in the South in a very small town, and it's a Christian conservative environment, and
Yeah.
and I feel like just our general culture, it's really hard because we live in this postmodern culture that it's really hard to make your own meaning because we had God to fall back on.
Right, yeah.
We knew the path.
It's an existential crisis, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not really spiritual. I do like as spiritual as I get is Alan Watts.
Uh-huh.
Like I feel like he's not woo woo at all.
Right, not at all.
But I feel like there's that like that need to combine like sort of that modernist like truth with a capital T meaning, but the healthy skepticism of atheism and the spirituality, like the metaphysical human connect. Like it's so hard to. Our language is just
Yeah.
not advanced.
Exactly.
To really articulate.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you like? Do you think it's possible to have like a no religion church? I miss the community.
Yeah. Hey,
Talking
Valentin.
about philosophy.
Right.
That was the only place that I could talk about like what happens when we die.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I went to, not long after, I live in the South too. I live in Galveston, Texas, which is different. It's a different place. I mean, we call it Galveston near Texas, Oh yeah, Austin says we have that here. Right. Yeah, right here. Exactly. This is it right here. This is the gathering. That's right. We have an awesome community here on TikTok. We really do. But I did go. Oh man, I forgot Critter. I need to. Yes, please send me a message and remind me. So I went to, and I'm trying to remember what it's called. Oasis, I think. Oasis. Just to try it out, I had come across this like secular Sunday service, where these non-religious people gathered and they would have speakers from all different places, whether it was a a university professor or a scientist or a philosopher or a singer-songwriter even. People come in and talk and give the sermon that day. And it was pretty cool because then they stay after and they eat. And it was like going to church, but it wasn't church. It wasn't spiritual at all. And they even had songs. Like they would sing songs. Yeah, church cosplay, Meg. That's awesome. Yeah, church cosplay. And for me, I mean, it was, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But a lot of people kind of like take comfort in that because, like you said, I mean, I know from my experience when I was a pastor, so I went through a lot of different, or a few different denominations. I was raised Church of Christ, very fundamentalist, legalistic Church of Christ. And then I became Reformed theologically, and I went to Westminster Theological Seminary, which is a Reformed Presbyterian seminary. And I was a pastor at the time of a non-denominational church because I'd broken out of the Church of Christ. And then I wanted to go back into the Church of Christ and be a reformer. So I got back in the Church of Christ. And of course, theologically, that didn't line up and it was just a disaster. And I became a pastor of a Reformed Baptist church. And then, this is the reason I'm telling you this, because then I discovered the house church movement. And so I started planting house churches. And we had this, I mean, super tight-knit community. The community that when we were together every day, it was very cult-like in a way because we were just, but we weren't like a cult, but it was very cult-like because we were like together all the time. We shared everything. We went out evangelizing in the school, in the colleges and on the streets and in the parks, and we ate all the time together. We had prayer meetings all the time throughout the week, and we were always together. We shared every parts of our lives, and it was a real deep sense of community. And so when you have something like that, and then you leave out of Christianity, you lose that part of your life in a lot of ways. And it's an existential crisis. It's not just an existential crisis of who am I, because I had this God that I loved and existed for. And I, had this Jesus that I just cherished and wanted to be like. So that's an existential crisis. Totally. But then you have this other existential crisis, like, who do I have? What community do I have? Where do I belong? Things like that. And so, it's a big thing, and a lot of people experience a lot of pain because of that. And so you do have these communities like Oasis, and there's what's it called? It's Sunday something. There, if you look it up, there are a lot of these communities that are all throughout the states and even other international. So you can find them. And try them out. The gym, the heretic disciple.
Our particular culture, it's kind of I don't
Yeah.
know, we've seen a lot of like disintegrating community and third spaces. You hear people talk about third spaces and how we don't really have that. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how people get wound up in cults and stuff, is because they're searching for something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that need for that. Yeah, for that.
Or the stories and stuff, because I kind of appreciate after went through my angry phase, and then I found philosophy, and a lot of the postmodern philosophy I was into sounded like Eastern philosophy.
Yeah.
So I looked into that, and then I was able to go back at the Bible and look at it a little differently.
Yeah.
Because when you look at other religions and you're like, okay, if they believe that literally,
Yeah.
that's silly. So you can look back at your old stories and be like, view it in a allegorical lens.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to do that just so I could kind of like relate it to the people in my life, because they're very religious and stuff.
Sure. Right.
And I can find value in some of those old stories, like like the Garden of Eden. Doesn't have to be a literal woman and a literal talking snake and all this. It could be about evolution. Like,
Yeah.
we ate from the tree of knowledge and now we have gone.
Yeah.
We have like an advancement in our consciousness. And now we have like an idea of what right and wrong is, when before we were more like in the moment, animalistic.
Right.
We didn't have anxiety or worry or know about what death is.
Yeah. And we probably ate this little cap here that sparked something. Yeah, and you know what I say about that too is that, and you can look at anything that way really and allegorize it or, mythologize it in a way that you can take something from it. So, excuse me, you can read Alice in Wonderland or Harry Potter as well. And take those stories and apply them, in some meaningful way to your life. It doesn't make those stories true. You don't have to take those stories literally, right? They have they were written by people in their culture, in their historical context, in their socio-political climate. Everything that was going on influenced those words that they're writing, right? And we're so far removed from that context that we read it and we don't even recognize any of that. We have no idea what they're talking about, but we read it and we interpret it in a way that is meaningful in our lives, and that's possible. That's totally possible. I mean, like I said, you could read Harry Potter and not know a thing about, you could take 2 pages from Harry Potter, read it, not know a thing about the book or the story, and go, oh man, that's, like Alice in Wonderland. I was just flipping through my copy of Alice in Wonderland the other day because I've read it several times and I've underlined stuff. And I was just looking through some of the things I've underlined and I was like, oh man, that is so cool. Like that's exactly what I'm thinking about right now. Well, that's not why it was written because I'm but it just, I've taken it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Meljo. Yeah, exactly. Hey, let me just open it up and oh, look at that. Somebody wrote me the other day and said, so on YouTube, I had these series of comments on a video of mine because I'm starting to try to get a presence on YouTube as well and put some stuff on YouTube because I haven't and I've been wanting to. And this guy, we were having this back and forth in comments and he ended up saying, I didn't know anybody could be this stupid. Well, at that point, he lost me. I'm never communicating with you again. I mean, when you resort to that, you've shown me that you're not interested in a genuine conversation. You're just going to start trying to attack a character and all that or a person. And so I'm not communicating with him at all because he's lost that privilege. But why was I telling you that? I was telling you that for a reason. Because I forgot. Well, anyway, it was interesting. Whatever I was going to tell you was extremely important. I appreciate you. Yeah, I do. And then I'm going to bring somebody else on. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Brianda. I appreciate you very much. Awesome. Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. We'll see you soon. All right. So I have several requests, and I'm gonna let a few more on as well. But I'm going to the bathroom first. Intermission. Okay. back. What did Austin say that was so funny? Oh, my allergies are going crazy. Normally I'd be mixing me up another little drink right now, but I haven't been doing that lately. Okay, let's see. Genuine conversation. Here we go. I should flip a coin because now I know that this order is not correct. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing well. How are you? Thanks for the rose, Chase.
I'm good. I'm good. I
Good.
actually just was wanting to mention it.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
I was just wanting to mention a quick point from your last guest about learning, lessons like
Thank you,
allegorical
Chase.
lessons from the Bible.
Yeah?
Because I feel like in the garden, or just the idea of original sin in general, is horrible. I think it's done a horrible job
Yeah.
making people feel guilty just for being
Absolutely.
born.
Yes. I agree with you 100%.
I don't know what we're supposed to gain from that, but I kind of feel like religion was population control.
Uh-huh.
The people in power wanted to prevent people from having children unless they grew up inside the church and you were paying a tithe to the church.
Ah.
So I feel like making you feel guilty was kind of a way to control you.
Sure.
To have children within the church so you could pay the tithe and your children could pay a tithe
Definitely.
when they grow up. And I don't know the damage exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But as an atheist that's kind of gone through this as well, I just wanted to mention that.
Meljo, the original
Just
guilt
be
trip.
careful about.
Yeah. No, you're right on, and that has a lot to do. That has a lot to do with it. It is very manipulative, and again, it's a part. I mean, you were saying, pay your tithe. I mean, it is a business, right? And so original sin it keeps that business going because you're always having to get more, right? You always have to make sure you're still in, you're still good, you're still there, and so you're giving a tithe, you're going to church, and you're continuing this business on. But yeah, original sin it's definitely harmful because it from the outset there's something wrong with you. From the outset you are separate. You're separated from this God who created you. This God who supposedly loves you, and you're separated from that God, and you have to believe this or do that or whatever it is to be in union with that God again. And if not, if you mess it up, and you don't believe the right thing or do the right thing or whatever, or say the right thing, whatever it is, depending on the religion, then you're going to pay the ultimate consequence because of that original sin, and you're going to go to the hot place forever, eternal conscious torment. And it's absolutely damaging because as a child, I remember, I grew up Church of Christ, very legalistic, fundamentalist, hellfire and brimstone. As a child, I remember not being able to sleep at night thinking about, oh, if Jesus, I was a child thinking, being afraid that Jesus was going to come back. I'm going to hear the trumpets. Jesus is going to come back and I'm going to go to hell because, I knew even as a child that I thought thoughts I shouldn't think. And, there was something not lining up with what I'm hearing in church because I'm not perfect or I'm not doing, exactly what I'm supposed to be doing or whatever. I was terrified, and I would have dreams, nightmares as a child about hell and demons and all that stuff. And it's absolutely horrible. It really is. It is damaging. It's very damaging.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, my grandpa was a pastor of Church of Canada, Christ Church of Canada.
Okay.
So it
Wow.
was kind of interesting that when he made it up to the upper echelon of being a priest, like he was a priest, and then he kind of made it up higher, that a lot of the higher ups did a lot of partying and drinking
Of
and all
course.
this stuff.
Yeah, of
So
course.
they're preaching stuff that they don't even believe.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you know what? I left Christianity and being a pastor, I left it because I was looking at an email just got. I left because I couldn't continue to preach things that I no longer believed, right? Because I had intellectually worked my way out of Christianity and I couldn't believe it anymore, so I left. However, later on in life, I joined the Clergy Project, TCP, and the Clergy Project is for pastors and ex-pastors, ministers and ex-ministers, but ministers and current pastors too, that no longer believe, right? And you would be shocked how many preachers and pastors and theologians and ministers that are out there who are still in the role but don't believe it. They just don't know how to get out. You know, because a lot of them are just acting and pretending to gain, right? But there are a lot of them out there who are genuinely stuck. They don't know what else to do. All their whole life has been about this moment of preaching, right? They have degrees and no backup plans, and their family, you know, is in it, and all, you know, and they're just terrified to get out. Me, I had to get out. I couldn't preach what I didn't believe. But there are so many, you'd be shocked at how many preachers and pastors and ministers that are out there who actually don't believe, but are still preaching because they don't know what else to do. They can't get out, you know? And it's really, I feel sad for them. I feel bad for them because, you know, they are absolutely confused and terrified, and they're afraid that, you know, their spouses will leave them and they'll lose everything they love and, you know, their income and everything. They're just terrified, but they can't get out. And you know, so many people in the comments are always so judgmental of me, you know, and many of them, I would be willing to bet their pastors really don't believe. They just have no idea.
It's unbelievable. The people at the top think they can just treat people underneath them however they want to.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
As long as they get that money in.
That's right. And oh man, the televangelists are the worst. I mean, they just take advantage of everyone, you know. They Kenneth Copeland and Benny Hinn and Peter Popoff and, you know, all those guys that are just raking in the millions and millions of dollars. They're really atheists is what they are. They really are. But they're just raking it in and pulling it over on I haven't brought this up in a long time, but there's a documentary. I love the documentary. It's called Marjo. You can watch it on Amazon Prime. Marjo. Oh, it's so good. So this guy, Marjo, he was raised as a Pentecostal preacher. He was a child prodigy Pentecostal preacher, right? And his dad was an evangelist. And his dad one day left him and his mother, ran off with all their money that he had made in all these revivals and stuff, right? Well, in this documentary, Marjo leaves the faith. He comes back and becomes an evangelist again. And he's doing all these tent revivals. He's making all this money doing these tent revivals. Well, he starts feeling guilty because he actually doesn't believe. He's an atheist, right? So he starts feeling guilty. This is made in like the 70s or something. So he assembles this documentary film crew, and he says, look, here's the gig. I am a preacher. I'm an evangelist. I do all these things. I'm in with all these big name Pentecostal pastors, but I don't believe, and I feel guilty, and I want to expose it. And so he creates this documentary exposing, he's going to these tent revivals, laying people out in the spirit. They're speaking in tongues and dancing and falling on the ground and all this. And he's an atheist, man.
Kind of fun though. I have to say, I mean, I know all the churches, at least when they're singing and having fun, it's enjoyable.
But yeah, check that out.
Definitely,
Yeah.
check it out. I just had to add that in because I kind of
Awesome. Yeah, that was a good point.
original sin is just an awful.
It's a good point.
Thinking you're guilty just for literally
From day one, from the ground up. Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for coming on. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Thank you for letting me on.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. All right. That was good. And that's such a good point. Original sin. Original sin is a belief. There's nothing factual about that. It's a belief. It's a religious belief. It is a... Oh, that's on my chat. If you're watching my live, I can't chat right now, but I saw that. I'll go back and look at it later on my website chat. I do want to direct everybody to rickquestionsthings.com. I don't want to forget that because I write about all these things and I write about other things. I don't just write about this. I also have a lot of shirts and stuff that I've created and designed that I love. You may not, but maybe you will. I have some recommendations, book recommendations. I've got links on my website that you might find interesting. I also have an Ask Rick page, and you can go to Ask Rick and submit a question, and then I'll make a video response to you based on that question. So, all right. let Christ first up. A name like that and the constant spamming makes me think they want to debate and they want to be an apologist or something. And I hate that, but I'm going to let them up here in just a minute. I'm interested in genuine conversation. Debating, to me, apologists and debating and things like that are so insincere. There are points to be made, and I'm going to lay these points out like this, and this. And I already know where I'm going, and nothing you say is going to be genuine in this conversation. I don't want to have a conversation. I just want to defeat you so that my ego is built up a little bit higher. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to hear soon. Hey, Rhonda, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Okay, let's see. Dr. Freeman likes cigarette. Hopefully that's not a word I shouldn't say. Hello, hey, how's it going? Christ first.
Good. I find it interesting that you set the tone saying that nothing past this point is going to be genuine.
Well, let's see, shall we? I just, in my experience, I've been doing this for a few years now. When someone spams like that and spams like you were over and over the same comment, and you have the name that you have, typically, in my experience, it has been someone ready with their points. So, oh, you have somebody there. No, the echo chamber. Let somebody echo chamber, that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's all good. It doesn't matter. Hey, if you weren't, that's fine. But how are you? You doing okay?
I'm good.
Good.
It just seems that you strongly disagree with Christians. You came here and you put that stuff above you.
How long have you been in the live? Have you heard much of the live?
The last two guests.
Oh, that's it. Okay, you didn't hear any of the conversation with me interacting with the comments?
Only the last two guests.
Okay.
So, I understand that you were a pastor.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for several years.
And what changed?
Well, I no longer believed. So I was a pastor. I went to Westminster Theological Seminary. Yeah, this is my live, right, Tasha? I went to Westminster Theological Seminary, got a Master's of Arts in Religion. I was a pastor for several years, and when I understood, thank you, Judy, when I understood that Christianity isn't true, that it's a product of its historical context, it has its own historical context with its own socio-political climate, and it's a product of that, when I understood it wasn't true and that Jesus is never coming back, then I departed from the religion. I couldn't continue to believe it. Not intellectually. I couldn't be honest and intellectually believe it anymore. So I dropped the belief and departed and went on my own journey, my own path.
Okay. So you said that you found out it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
What was the confirmation for you that it's not true?
Well, that Jesus in the New Testament is an absolute fiction. It's a fabrication. That in order to believe that Jesus is a real person, that it's a real character, that he performed these miracles, that he was raised from the dead when there's zero eyewitness accounts of it, you have to believe it, not know it. And I couldn't believe it anymore. When I saw that the return of Jesus in the Gospels were written after 70 CE and the destruction of Jerusalem, when I understood that the Gospel's main point, especially when they're talking about the return of Jesus being the destruction of Jerusalem, that's how they interpreted the destruction, was God's judgment by the hands of the Romans on unbelieving Israel, then I knew what it was about. I said, man, and I read Josephus. When you read Josephus in the account of the War of the Jews, you read the Antiquities, you read Josephus, and you say, everything that he's describing in this war is everything that I'm reading in the Gospels. Everything that Jesus is talking about, the judgments on Israel, the woes to the scribes and Pharisees, the judgments on the scribes and Pharisees, the coming doom on Jerusalem. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that stones those, and so forth. When I understood that's what it's about, I realized I've been waiting for Jesus to come, and that's never what it's been about. It's always been about the destruction of Jerusalem. That's what it was all about. It was this very physical religion being carried on after its physical destruction into a spiritual light. So now it's a very spiritual religion in place of the physical religion. so that it perpetuates and continues. That's the only way it could have continued. Apart from the land, apart from the temple, apart from the people in that physical space, occupying that space. And so when I understood that, and hell not being an actual state of existence after death, that was the first big domino for me to fall. When I understood that, it's like, my God, everything that I believed has been this, it's so far removed from me, and it's absolutely irrelevant. It has nothing for me anymore. I can't believe it intellectually. I can't believe it. And so I departed.
Okay. So you said there were 0 eyewitness testimonies.
That's right, yeah.
Where's the confirmation of that truth?
That we have zero writings from an eyewitness. Who's an eyewitness of the resurrection of Jesus, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus that is written about it?
Historical documentation from those that spoke with the eyewitness testimony.
Who?
Paul?
Paul witnessed the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus?
No, I said
Okay, no, I'm saying the stories of the Gospels, water turned into wine, walking on water, the death, burial, resurrection, all those things, virgin birth, all those things. Who are the eyewitnesses of those things that happened? That's my question.
Peter was an eyewitness testimony.
And he wrote about it? Who Peter wrote the Gospels? Did Peter write the Gospels?
Peter did not write the
Okay, so those stories that you read about Jesus, who are the eyewitnesses that wrote about these things?
Those that spoke with the eyewitnesses.
You keep saying that, but I'm asking who that is. If we can't get past this, I mean, there's really nothing more to talk about. Who are the eyewitnesses you're talking about? Are the Gospels eyewitness accounts? Some. Which ones?
So you're gonna.
Which ones are the eyewitness accounts? Is Mark an eyewitness account?
No.
Okay. Is Matthew an eyewitness account?
You're gonna.
Is Matthew an eyewitness account?
Okay, no for all of them.
Okay. Luke's not an eyewitness. So what I'm saying is, none of these stories are from eyewitnesses. They are written well after the destruction of Jerusalem, and they're written about the destruction of Jerusalem. And when you read the stories, you can see that very clearly.
You're gonna have to let me talk though.
Well, I have. I've asked you the same questions, and I'm letting you answer.
I've answered your question.
Go ahead.
But if you're going to go off historical evidence, the time gap between the destruction of Jerusalem and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is a shorter time gap than eyewitness testimony of any other historical figure.
No, that doesn't matter. I don't care about Alexander the Great. That is a common apologetic point. You're parroting the same apologist's point. Listen, you are because it doesn't matter to me. I'm talking about this one. That is passing the buck. You're passing the buck. Now, here's the thing. I'm being respectful, but you're passing the buck because I've heard this over and over, and you're not saying anything original. You're parroting every other apologist that says, well, you trust Alexander was real. What about George Washington? But I'm saying, tell me why you believe these stories, where are the eyewitness accounts? They aren't there. So don't bring up any other historical figure. I don't care about them.
There's other points of evidence. There were people claiming to be the Messiah prior to Jesus. They gained a following. After the death of this so-called Messiah, the following fell apart. The only one that has stayed together to this day is the followers of Christ.
And that's enough?
And they saw.
And that's enough for you? No. Who believed in Saul? I'm telling you, there are no eyewitnesses. There are 0 eyewitnesses. You're telling me they saw it. And I'm telling you, there are no eyewitnesses. And so when you weren't on earlier, but I went through a bunch of scriptures going, look, this is about the destruction of Jerusalem. Everybody thinks this is about the second coming. It's not. It's about the destruction of Jerusalem because it's written after the fact as prophetic hindsight. These guys are writing, interpreting what happened in 70 CE. I mean, that's what they're doing. And so they have these... I don't say
That's what historians do.
I don't say that
You're describing what historians do.
it's not historical. It's not historical. It's a fabrication. It's a fabrication.
It's historical.
There you go again with Alexander the Great. I don't care about Alexander the Great. I don't care about Alexander the Great. Here's what I'm talking to you about. You're asking me, Why don't I trust this history? And I'm telling you, it's not eyewitness account. These things were written so long after the events.
Even the Roman Empire that was not Christian at the time wrote documenting the life of Christ.
When? What year?
I think
What year?
there were scholars, there were historical scholars.
What year?
Okay.
Tell me the year that it was written.
Obviously, after the death, obviously.
How long after the death? What is the year?
That's all of history. It's going to happen periods, years after.
So if someone 50 years from now claims that so and so lived and died and didn't, but people believe it, you're going to believe it because somebody wrote about it well after the after the supposed events. Listen, everything that you've said is a belief. You're believing these things. It's not word of mouth, it's fabrication is what I'm saying. You're believing this historical product of a historical context that has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you.
Do you believe that human beings were created by God, or do you think it was evolution?
I don't talk about any of that. Why talk about any of that?
You reject God, so then how did we come here? You don't consider that or ask yourself that?
It's irrelevant. Why would I ask that question when I would have to believe the answer? That's what I'm saying. I don't have beliefs. I don't believe anything. So I don't believe. I don't have to ask. You asked me a question and I'm trying to answer it, my friend. You asked me a question and I'm trying to answer it. I would have, if someone said, how did we get here? In order for me to answer that question, I would have to give you a belief. I would have to tell you what I believe. I couldn't tell you anything. And so a Bible could tell me where we came from, and that would be a belief. A Muslim scholar would tell me where I came from. That would be a belief. Do you believe Islam's version of how we got here? Do you believe Hindus' version of how we got here? No, just the Christian version, right? Well, why? Because you just believe it. You believe it.
So you're saying you don't believe in anything?
Let's tackle this first. Why should I believe your version of how we got here? You're asking me how I got here. I can't tell you how we got here. I would have to tell you a belief. So why do you believe? Why do you believe the story that you believe? Why do you believe the belief that you believe about how we got here?
Before going into the Bible, it's very clear to me that there's an intelligent mind behind designing life here on earth.
Why is it clear?
Because something doesn't come from nothing.
Well, where did God come from?
Eternal.
That's a belief.
You already know.
Why can existence not be eternal?
Why can existence not be eternal? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know.
Well, look, you need to think about that.
We're just talking about life here on earth.
Well, wait, you need to think about that, because if you can say, well, nothing can come, something can't come from nothing, and I say, well, where'd God come from? I don't know. Well, why can't I say that? Why are you not happy with me saying that about existence?
I didn't know to God, though. I said eternal. That was my answer.
Why can't existence be eternal then, by that same logic?
What do you mean by existence?
This existence, energy that's not created or destroyed.
Because even people that subscribe to evolution will concede and say that the universe has a starting point.
No, not all. That you need to do some research, because there's a lot of theories. No one knows. So anybody who even holds to the theory of the Big Bang, right? They never say everything started there. They have no idea what was before. They don't know if it was another universe, another form of existence, or nobody knows. So at every point they say, I don't know. And I'm just saying, why believe anything? Why should I accept your belief? Because I used to. Obviously I used to be there. And so I understand. I get it. But when you come on and ask me these questions, I'm like, here's my answer. You're like, whoa, what? Well, it's just a belief, man. It's just a belief. And I don't hold that belief.
But then what do you believe?
Nothing. And I know that's hard.
That's just weak.
You could say that, but why? Why would I want to accept the ancient beliefs of other human beings? You're accepting the ancient beliefs of other human beings.
You don't have to. I'm not forcing
Right.
you.
So how is it weak? I think it's the strongest thing you could possibly do, as a matter of fact, is to shed beliefs.
You were rejecting one and then just saying, I don't know to the other. Like, oh, I'm going to put a hard no to this
Accept it. Yeah, I am not going to believe other people's beliefs for no reason. I mean, I have.
But why don't you have your own set of beliefs?
Why would I? Why do I need? That's weak. That's what weakness is having to believe something. Courage, strength is going, I don't have to believe anything. I can let it all go. That's what faith is letting go. I can let all that go, and I don't have to believe anything.
Where's your purpose coming from? What's the
Right here. This is purpose. This is purpose. Why do you have to have that's a religious concept. Somebody give me purpose. God, give me a purpose. Bible, give me a purpose. Why do you have to have that? That's weak. That's weak.
You have a purpose to come on live and have this.
I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Yeah, it's fun for me. But existence is purpose. This is purpose right here. Just being, existing, not believing. I don't have to believe anything. I don't have to say, oh, your purpose is to be as Christ or be in union with God through Christ or whatever. I mean, I don't have to say or believe Muhammad and be in union with Allah and I don't have to believe any of that. And not having that is purpose.
That's your purpose. Is to just exist, float around and exist.
No, you say it willy-nilly like that. Like purpose is irrelevant. I am right here, right now. I am here fully invested. I'm here. I'm looking at my dog. My children are sleeping. I love my kids. I play with them. If you need that word purpose, that's purpose. That's living. That's being here in this moment, fully invested, not thinking of the future, not thinking of the past, not needing to go somewhere after I die, because all of that is irrelevant. Not believing anything. I don't have to believe anything to be loving to my kids. I don't have to believe anything to do that. I don't have to believe anything to look at my dog and pet him and say, good boy. I don't have to believe anything to do that. I can be here right now in this moment and be full of life, because life is only right now. That's all life is here right now.
Okay, so again, you've just put a hard no to God. You said, look, no to God.
No, I've put a no to belief. I don't believe in believing. I don't believe. Period. I'm not saying a hard no to God. I don't believe.
Do you support abortion?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you do believe in certain things. Is the point I'm trying to get to.
No, I don't. Am I considering abortion right now? No. So why would you ask me that question?
Is you do believe in certain things.
What do I believe? Why are you telling me that I believe? Why are you telling me that I believe in something? What do I believe in? No, I don't believe anything.
Okay, man. So if you don't believe,
It may be hard for you to believe.
so then why have you made it your point? It's not simply that you said, I'm going to walk away from Christianity.
No, it's not. It's not simply. No, because I left Christianity over a decade ago. I went to Westminster. I got my master's degree. I learned Hebrew and Greek. I tell people I've translated more scripture than most Christians have read. I was wholeheartedly in, genuine, sincere. Thanks Dave, what's up my friend? I was the most genuine and sincere Christian I've ever known, and I mean that, genuinely, sincerely. I really do. Thank you, my friend. No, it is, because I didn't know anybody who was more genuine, sincere. I'm trying to show you I was in it, hardcore, radical Christian. I believed it. And I intellectually worked my way out. I couldn't believe anymore. So it wasn't just I gave up and I left. You make it sound like it was this easy, like simple process. It wasn't. It was an absolute painful process. I went through a divorce over it. I lost my income. I lost everything because I couldn't continue to preach the things I no longer believed. It was an absolutely painful process. I mean, utterly painful, but worth it in the end, because here I am over a decade later. And I have peace and I have happiness and I have bliss because I exist here, right now, in this moment is all there is, and I am it. And I don't believe anything anymore. I don't have to. But I went through that process, and it was a hard process. And I cried out to God, I mean, over and over and over. Please, God, you know my mind. You know what I feel like I've discovered in the knowledge I feel like I've gotten in this, and I don't want to lose my faith. Help me. But nothing was done, because there's a reason for that, because God isn't there.
God isn't there. You see, you're okay. All right. There's a
He's
lot of
not.
things you said. It's hard to cover all of them. But my question to you is, when you were in your marriage, were you unhappy in your marriage?
We had happiness and unhappiness. It depends on the moment.
That's every relationship. But I'm saying over
I'm being honest with you. No.
No. So you had a biblical marriage. You had a
Yeah,
wedding.
I'm not saying you can't have some happiness in religion. I mean, I know Hindus and Muslims who are happy. It's not that you can't be happy, but you can't walk your own path in religion. You're in bondage to the beliefs of other people. It doesn't mean you can't be happy. You could be a believer in Harry Potter and be happy. You can have happiness in that. It doesn't make it true.
Conceded that you don't believe in anything. So
That's
why are
right.
you even talking about belief? You don't
No,
believe in
I'm
anything.
saying other people can. You can believe in
To
anything.
you though. I'm not talking to other people. I'm asking you.
I don't understand the point
basically,
you're
what
making right now. Then
were the benefits of you breaking up the marriage and leaving the faith?
I didn't break up the marriage. Why are you projecting that on me? I didn't break up the marriage. The
I'm
excess.
asking you a question.
You said, why did I break up the marriage? So I broke up the marriage.
Yes.
Dude,
If you're gonna, of course you
you're
did.
an asshole. That is gaslighting. That's absolute gaslighting. So I answered every question he asked, and he can't fathom it. He can't fathom it. He can't fathom that I don't believe his beliefs. And so he has to say things like that. You broke up your marriage. Come on, my friend. I think that was a great conversation. I think I think he didn't expect someone to speak the way I speak. Dr. Freeman. Thank you, Judy. I appreciate you very much. But, I do feel for him, and I am glad he came on because I think it was a good conversation. I think I think he probably expected the same. Hey, what's up, Brian? Thank you. I think he probably expected the same apologetic conversation that he has over and over and over, and he didn't get that with me. Um, yeah, he couldn't believe it. But yeah, when someone starts projecting stuff like you broke up your marriage, or I've had him call me stupid, the conversation's over at that point. You're more patient than I could be. Right, Brenda? I know, and it's because I do understand. I've been where he is. I've been there before. I've been there. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, the Bible does condone it, actually. He was angry. He was angry. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, that's hack. Why don't you come up then? I will, Dave. Yeah, hang on just a minute. Hello. Hello. Uh-oh. I thought Bri was coming up, my friend. I thought that was good conversation. I think it was very telling.
Hey, you want to talk about good conversation?
What's up, dude? What's up, my friend? How are you?
Hey, how can I be video? Let me see if I can do video.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Wait a second. It says you'll connect to him audio only.
Oh, what?
Okay.
Good point,
looks
Gene.
disconnect. Oh, here it is. Okay, cool. Okay, Alexa, turn off the salt lamp.
Set the ambiance.
There I am.
There he is.
1,000 followers, baby.
Finally. Finally.
Yes, I am Rick's real life friend. And I gave up religion a long time ago. But Rick is actually helping me, to get more, I don't know, it's more sensible, but not sensible, but I'm trying to think like more educated about it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, because you did all that, essentially for us.
Yeah.
You're just like Jesus in that way. You gave it all for us. Was an asshole, quite frankly, but it was a good conversation. I was actually enjoying it until he said, and you gotta cut him off at that point.
I mean, when you start saying stuff like that, why'd you break up your marriage and all that? I mean, when you start saying stuff like that, you know that you're grasping at straws, and it's just not going to be positive at all from that point forward. There's not going to be any positivity that comes out of that. So anyway, hopefully everybody enjoyed that and got something out of it. So anyway, let me see what Gus says here. Typical. Once you realize they're not actually listening, best to end all efforts. Right. This is why I no longer try to help people see that religion isn't real. It's convenient for them. Right. Yeah, I know. And that's why I don't enjoy apologists, because they're never genuine, ever. Like, they want to come on and battle. They want to go to war, and not have actual genuine conversation. They're just ready to pounce and ready to go to war. And the thing that happened with that guy is he didn't expect that kind of conversation. He didn't expect that. I mean, he thought we were going to go down the same trail, the same path over and over and over. And I mean, you just, he wants me to believe something. You got to believe something. No, I know it's hard for you to believe, but I don't, and I don't feel the need to. Right, because here's the thing, and this is what I was trying to tell him. Look, I am in this moment. This is existence right here, right now. What is there to believe? I don't need to believe anything to look at you and speak to you. I don't need to believe anything to look at my dog and say, good boy. I don't need to believe anything to enjoy my kids and play with my kids. I don't need to believe anything to do this. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Oh, no. My YouTube.
I'm gonna make a mockery of God. He likes to get fucked right in the ass. Oh my God.
No.
Did I say that out loud?
No. Yeah.
Okay, that was me.
No.
That was me, David Galveston.
Oh, no.
Not anyone else. Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's how
You're going to get me
I'm so sorry,
in
everyone.
trouble.
Okay, thank you for the laugh. Oh yeah, thank you for the heart. Oh my gosh. So anyway, hey everyone. I love Rick. I know him in real life. We live on the same island together. So if you want to learn about the island at all,
Yes.
notice my name is Dave in Galveston.
Yeah, man. Follow Dave. He does some good stuff. That's he goes to all the events. He's at everything and makes videos about it, and it's awesome. And I appear in some of his videos as well sometimes.
There's 3 or 4 videos with Rick in it. So if you'd like to see Rick having fun in real life and see how joyful he is in real life, follow me, because I'm gonna camera stalk him. Actually, at some point. So to let you, I'll tell you a little announcement, Rick. I don't know if I told you this, but I am going to work for Culture Clash magazine here.
Oh yeah, you did tell me that. Yes.
I did tell you. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man.
Yeah, so that's in the works, and I'm going to be a marketing and social media consultant.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
Love
that's
it.
what's going on. So if you want to, again, I like to try to entertain. Well, so what my idea is, I'm your friend in Galveston, which is narrow casting, right? You have 300 people. Oh, there were more than that. I'm gonna get off here so we don't lose more people.
No, it's been up and down all night. It's been up and down all night.
Well, I've had 6. You know what I mean?
You just got to keep doing it.
It says you've done 93% better than most folks have done.
You just have to keep. Yeah, you just have to keep doing it, man. Keep doing it.
Yeah, I do. I'm enjoying it, and again, you're a little bit more universal. Plus, how great, everyone, that Rick, he still has a halo around his head.
There it is. I position myself just right.
He has a beautiful halo around his head. Anyway, okay, so I will let you. I'm going to stop talking in a moment. I'm going to ask all of your. Yeah, look at people are leaving.
Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's get some more people on. I'm not going to be on much longer. It's already 11:16 p.m. But everybody, please go to rickquestionsthings.com and check out my writings. Check out some of the things that I've done there on rickquestionsthings.com. There are forms that you can submit questions. I'll provide a video response. There's also shirts. There's all kinds of stuff. Okay, let's see. The night is still young. Yeah. Dave, I never know who to let on. It's a big question because I thought I had it figured out. I thought The top were the oldest requests, but it mixes up. So I don't know who the oldest requested. I don't know who requested first and who requested last or whatever. So I'm just going to make my way through, you know. I know that Miriam has quested a while. Huh? Ah, what's up, my friend? That's why I let you on, because I was like, I know I've seen that name in the list for a little while now. So let me let Miriam on.
I got a weird name.
That's all right.
You just call me M. It's just a
M.
bit weird, so just call me M. It's be more easier.
Nice to meet you, M.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. To answer the second, third thing, I say, you need God for morality, for objective morality, basically.
Yeah. Obviously, I would disagree with that,
Personally,
but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, personally, my life, I can only piece because you said you, so I guess you're talking to the second person. Personally, in my life, I needed it. I needed to believe in something to keep going when I was a kid, because I never had like a real childhood growing up in Haiti and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
if it
I
wasn't for the
understand.
belief,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the belief, if I did unalive myself, I was going to hell. Then if it wasn't for this, I would have already done it. So
Mm-hmm.
personally, this keep me going through hardship, hard time, and then now as I grow up and I live in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
I pray to God for this to happen, and it actually happened. So
Mm-hmm.
he actually answered my prayers
Mm-hmm.
actually multiple times in a row. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't notice it until
Yeah.
it made this happen. So
Well,
yeah, just
I would never tell you, you know, not to if that's what you need, right? I mean, if that's what's going to keep you going, I would never tell you not to do it then, you know. I wouldn't tell you anything, because if that's what you need, because there are people who need it, right? So I have a hard time. I really do have a hard time having a conversation with someone like you, because I don't want to. I don't want if you need religion and you need to believe something in order to keep going, in order to make sense of your life, then there's no part of me that wants to disrupt that and throw you off. Although deep down, obviously I disagree with what you believe, but deep down I do understand that there is a great peace outside of religion, right? But I wouldn't want to put this huge argument against you if that's what you need to keep going. Because
I mean,
for me, it's not worth it.
right now, I'm talking about when I was a kid.
Ah,
Right now, it's a different things. I'm
yeah,
not like that because of fear. It's because I love Jesus Christ.
yeah,
It's something else. But I set up this. I can have a conversation into. We need God for morality. So
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's a belief. I think that's a belief that you carry that I don't carry. I don't hold that, because I obviously am. I'm a pretty decent human being, and I don't believe in God. So I don't think you need God. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you could go through the Ray Comfort stuff and are you a liar? Are you a murderer? Are you, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, morality you see evolving and dependent and relative based on, thank you, Brits, based on the culture and history in which you find it. And so there is no objective standard morality that you find unaltered throughout time. Even in the Bible, you see the evolution of morality. In the Old Testament, you see things going on that today Christians would find hard to palate. They would find hard to see as moral. So yeah, Dr. Freeman, morality is based on culture, the times, the conditioning of the sociopolitical climate, all that kind of stuff conditions morality. So morality is absolutely relative. It's relative. It's not objective. It's relative. I wouldn't even say it's subjective. It's relative. Thank you, Brandy. So in the Old Testament, for instance, when you see God command Israel to the men, women, children, infants, and even the animals of the Amalekites, for instance, right? That is something that in that time period, they probably witnessed going on. It was a tribal situation. There was all kinds of atrocities that would take place. Today, in your context, in America, thank you, Brits, in America, and Brandy, in America, where you live now, you would if you saw a group of people go in and men, women, children, and infants, and even their animals, you would go, oh, that is not okay. That's immoral. But you see that taking place in the Bible, and then it evolves into the New Testament, and you don't see that kind of stuff in the New Testament. You see more of a peaceful God. You see this war tribal God in the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, you see this peaceful God, not necessarily all peaceful. I mean, there's wrath and judgment and all that kind of stuff, but you don't see what we would see today as atrocities taking place that you do in the Old Testament. And that's because even in the span of the time of the Bible, morality is evolving and relative to the people and their culture, right? And so today we're so far removed from that it's, I mean, we're so far removed from that. And so you go back in any time period and you're going to find different sets of morality. You're going to find different socio-cultural norms and laws and rules and things that are accepted and not accepted. And so that's what I have to say about that. And it's not dependent upon a God at all.
Yeah, I'll say you told me you're a pastor before. I don't know if you making this argument, knowing the Amalekites was not actually the words here was not to be taken literal, because we then find a later statement that the Amalekites was pushed away by God and they were not supposed to be unalive. In fact, they were stayed there to actually test those people. When God made that statement, it was like
So, but you realize that he punished the leaders for keeping. Well, he punished the leaders for keeping some of the animals alive. So I do think in the story, it's meant to be literal. Now, if there was a figurative interpretation later, that may be the case. But in the story, with Israel looking at it as history, it was to be taken literal because they were punished for not carrying out that command.
I don't know if you with George. I do have those verses and thing. I could show it on my screen. I do have the verse when God said He's gonna push them away from the lands. Right? He pushed some of them away when Joshua encounters those people again that was coming back.
That's because they didn't kill him and they got punished for it. Oh, I said the word. They didn't unalive him and they got punished.
Please once for me, please, at least. Can I finish? Okay. So when they come back, when they were raised, even and if you read the rest of the Bible is not just one passage, it's the entire Bible. When you're talking about the Old Testament, if you read the rest of it, it clearly says that the Amalekites were staying still there to test those people. When they were using that word with an hyperbolic language, it's kind of a war propaganda on the way that the Amalekites been attacking the Israelites since the day they are come out from slavery, when they knew God was against them, and God gave them multiple times. It took many years until God
Look,
decided that.
you can keep reading, but my question is, we could say it like this: has God ever commanded His people to anybody? I mean, let's just say it like that, because you clearly are taking that story figurative, which most people don't. And they were actually punished for not doing what He said. But has your God ever commanded anyone to anybody? Well, yes or no? Yes or no? Has your God ever? Yes or no? Has your God ever commanded anyone to anyone else? Yes or no?
There was commands to that.
Huh?
I believe there was commands.
There were. Okay, well then we can just go with that then. Okay, so that's fine, because I do think that Israel took that story literally, and the reason there's other stories about the Amalekites is because they didn't do what God said. They left some alive and they were punished for it, but we don't have to talk about that. If God ever commanded any of His people to anyone else, that would be seen today by you probably. If God commanded you to someone else, would you?
Saying that the state were to, for example, when somebody get punished for their crime and they have the death sentence, right, we carried it, right?
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the state. I'm talking about you as maybe your church. Let's say your church. Okay, I'm going to mute you because you're not getting the point. I'm not talking about the state. I'm not talking about penalties for crimes in the state. I'm talking about your God. If your God, if a prophet in your church rose up and said, God has commanded me that we as a church need to go out and this group of people, would you do it? Or this person, would you do it? That's what I'm asking you. So no, but I'm saying if he did, no, you can't. It's my life. If he did, would you do it? That's what I'm asking. So that's the question I'm asking. If he did, no, I'm not. If he did, would you do it? That's the question. Answer that question. No, I'm not. You said that you need God for morality. I'm saying you don't need God for... No. Listen, I'm asking you a question. This is my live. I'm asking you a question. That's what I'm doing. You're not answering my question. Oh God. If God were to command you and your church to go and these people, would you do it? He knows he would say no, because morality evolves. It's relative. And in the Old Testament, it was okay because that's a totally different context and culture. That's a totally different context and culture and historical setting. So morality evolves. It has nothing to do with God. Nothing. It's relative, absolutely relative. So I mean, you can't point to your beliefs in a Bible to prove morality. This is just belief. Who are you right here, right now, today? That's the question. I would say the same about you, Miriam. I'm gonna let some more people on. Let me get some water. I ran out. And I'm gonna run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Okay. Dang, this cool punk rock girl. Did you, Dave? No way. And those stories, I don't believe any of those stories, obviously. They're not historical, but it shows the moral compass, the morality of the times in which, so I don't believe God commanded Israel to the Amalekites. I don't believe that, but it is their story. It's in their story, right? And so that shows the times and the morality in which, of the times in which they lived, which is totally different than what you find in the New Testament and today. So morality is relative. That was my point. It doesn't matter if I don't believe the stories. They're obviously not true. It has nothing to do with that. 7. Let's see. Let's see. Is my YouTube still running? That is the question. Looks like it. I've lost connection a couple times with YouTube, but it comes right back. So I guess last time I was streaming YouTube and I shut it down. I shut it down, but the connection is restored, so I need to just keep it running. How long have I been going so far? 2 hours and 35 minutes. Oh my goodness, I gotta go to bed. All right, let's let Dave back on, but I'm gonna let somebody else on with Dave. What's up, man? That's okay. And you can hang out. I'll just let other people on, but what's up?
I would like to apologize to you for saying the really bad thing that I said. I forgot about TikTok, and I forgot. Yes, somebody reported me. I got my first report, and it was towards me for saying something sexual.
Yeah. Can't do that.
I'm learning.
I know.
So I have a few technical questions for you. How do you get that floating thing, the halo behind your head? How do you do that?
Oh, so I created a background image using an app. Just a black screen with the words on it and my logo. And then you can just use effects in your live. You can go to effects and use a green screen. And there's a particular green screen. There's several green screens, but oh, Jake, cool. There's a particular green screen that you can, somebody just ordered, I think a shirt. Thank you, Jake. There's a particular green screen effect that you can use to do this like transparent background with that image. I'll show you.
Yeah, that's what we remember. We talked. We were supposed to get together like once a week.
I know.
Like every other week.
I know.
We haven't done it yet. So let's try to do it this week at some time.
Yeah, we will.
Host is handsome. I'm sorry. No. Somebody accused me of wanting to marry you.
Seats taken.
You have a very sexy wife, and I just started. Hey, yeah, I met this girl. Here, I'll tell you a quick story.
Oh yeah, that was real.
Yeah, I met a girl at the.
Thank you though.
Fat Tuesday after party at the.
Come on.
At the, and she was really cool, and we hit it off. And she's got pink hair, and she's actually she tells ghost stories and red light district stories around the Strand. Yeah, we really.
Nice,
I
dude.
really like her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll have to all do something together.
But if I were gay, oh yeah, you'd be first gay.
I'd be the one.
It's so funny. No, yeah. We all agree. I like to play with that.
Hey, we need to all get together then. I need to meet her.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet now. I would like for somebody that has really good stuff to talk.
Okay, let's see.
I'm
I guess I'm just going from the top, and I never know.
Hey, what's going on, Dave and Rick?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Caleb. That's exciting. Hey, I'll be super transparent up front. I am, which is actually why I was excited about jumping on. Quick question, Rick. How long, when you said you were a pastor for many years, how many years were you a pastor?
Several, maybe. Gosh, I'd have to sit and think about it. 8, I don't know, 8 or 9 years or something.
Yeah, that's all good. So a little context about myself, and which is why I was excited to jump on, was so I've been a pastor. I was a pastor for 13 years. Still a Christian, but met probably a very similar crossroads that you met with. Just went into a different direction where there's probably a lot of different things that you were learning, and in the journey of learning, having trouble to reconcile that with yourself, and kind of met that crossroads. Whereas for you, you chose to step away from Christianity. Whereas me, I chose to stay with Christianity, but I
Get out of ministry.
from Orthodox. Yeah, but stepped away from Orthodox Christian tradition.
Okay.
And chose, mine was more of the other road. Where I was like, well, I'm not stepping away because
Thanks,
I
Dave.
don't believe that it's not real. I believe it's real, but I believe that I was like called to change it at some level.
Okay, gotcha.
So I went in a different direction, and so for me, full transparency, like I'm not coming on here as like an apologist. I very much actually hate apologists almost as much as you do. I think they're actually the enemy of Christianity. It actually deter conversation, because I think that at the end of the day, what I've appreciated about watching you for the past several guests was people don't seem to understand. Like, I was sitting there watching it, I'm like, this guy, he just likes to ask questions. Like, every question, let's see how deeper the question can go. And that's the fun part. That's actually
Yeah,
the fun part.
it
It's
is.
like where some people, I think you brought this up earlier, where people have this like, let's go to battle mindset with
Yeah, right.
apologists. And I was sitting here listening to it, and I was like, but that's actually the irony of, if you know, and I'm sure you know this, but that's the irony of Scripture, is the whole point that like Jesus is presented in Scripture is the idea that like you're rather than what Jesus presented as when you are faced with the conquest, you're to allow yourself to be conquered, and that's where the
Yeah.
life is supposed to come from. And these people, you have this very conquest mindset
Mm-hmm.
that dominates traditional Christianity.
Right.
Typically because of the historical traditions and how it got integrated with the throne and government, and how that
Yeah.
evolved over time,
Uh-huh.
and how that got inundated and indoctrinized and so on and so forth.
Mm.
So I always find that so ironic, how many people miss the mark or miss to realize how influenced they are by the, for lack of better words, the persecution complex and the very
Yeah.
strong desire to go to war, for
Uh-huh.
lack of better words, and we interpret that as fight the good fight.
Right. Yeah.
And in doing so, contradict the very message and desires that
Exactly.
Jesus would have actually wanted for Christians.
I think that's a good way to put it. I like that. I like that a lot. And it is. It's a battle mindset, and it just comes off so disingenuous. It comes off so insincere, because you never get a genuine conversation. It's almost as though as you're talking, you can almost see them looking right through you, thinking about what they're going to say next.
You're looking for the regurgitated arguments
Yeah.
that they would think is original.
That's
but
yeah.
in reality is just something that's repeated.
It's
over and
parroted.
over again.
Yeah, it's
And it was
parroted
convinced.
over and
But
over.
the hard part, this is where I've spent like a lot of years. I think where I sit is a lot of my current modern day ministry is to people who have been burned by the church, for lack of better words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've spent a lot of years and a lot of ministry literally just sitting with people. Like I told myself, like one day there came like a sharp moment where I was like, I'm done with the whole like arguing with people.
Yeah.
My goal is like, I just want to sit and listen to your story.
Yeah.
In my book that I came out with a couple years ago, one of the statements that I quote the most often is that people want to know that you care before they want to know what you care about.
Yeah. Right.
And that becomes the biggest issue within the church and Christianity, is we don't know how to sit with people and listen.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
have the
Without
conversation
agenda.
here.
Yeah. Without agenda. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's just to know people for who they are.
Yeah.
And that's actually, ironically,
Thanks
we
for the
fight
roses.
so hard for people to hear us and to think you need to hear this, because we've been taught in churches and preached at and all this stuff that like you got to save souls, you got to do all these things, and
Right.
at the end of the day, what's really difficult is people to understand how much preaching is just sales tactics.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
a Westford sales company. That was
Dude.
that was a huge hard part for me, was spending years preaching, because so a little bit about myself, like I was a pastor again for like 13 years. I'm probably one of the very few people who can, and probably similar to yourself, probably one of the few people who can genuinely say I've read the Bible cover to cover.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Times.
I know. I tell people all the time, like I've probably translated more of the Bible than most Christians have read.
Yeah, and I hurt you so hard when some guy where someone was dogging on you and they were saying that I was like prideful. I'm like, no, I know exactly where this guy's coming from.
Right, man.
I'm like, bro, I know what you're going.
Yeah. And I don't mean it to brag at all. It has nothing to do with that. It's like,
I don't brag you to say like I've read the Bible 100 times cover to cover.
Yeah.
Brag. I'm saying it because it's the truth.
it's true. Right.
I've
Exactly.
translated more scriptures than most people. I've done the hard work. And
Oh, Dr. Freeman. I'll see you, my friend.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, I got my hand raised.
Oh, go ahead, Dave. Hey, let me tell Dr. Freeman good night. Every once in a while, I'm going to see somebody I need to respond to. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Good night, Dr. Freeman. Hey, Caleb, I really like how you're talking. You sound great. You sound like the type of religious guy that I could listen to. But you guys, by the way, I have to comment on the Bible. I don't know how you guys could have read something so boring back and forth. Good for
Well, when you believe it, that's the thing. It's not boring, and of course, well, I say that, but you kind of you convince yourself that a lot of it's not boring because a lot of it is. Even when you believe it, you're like, oh God, I got to get through these names again. But when you believe it, I mean, you really believe it. When I was studying the Bible, to me, I was studying the Word of God. Like I wanted to know it as deeply as possible because in that I was knowing God, my Creator, that my Father. I mean, that's how I viewed it, and so I would just spend hours upon hours upon hours just digesting and translating, doing word studies because everything that I did had the purpose of knowing the God who had given me this word to digest.
Yeah. I do want to say, Caleb, you said it's interesting that you said you were in sales because we all three have that.
I wanted to say it. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to cut you off, Caleb. But when you said that, Dave. So I worked with Dave one time at Holiday Inn Club Vacations we were salespeople, and yeah, and I meant like one period of life. And in my interview, Dave, I didn't tell you this, but Caleb, in my interview, they're like, "You have any sales experience?" And I said, "Well, I sold Jesus. I was a pastor. I was a preacher. What more? I'm the greatest salesman." And they hired me. They hired me on the owner line, which was like the advanced line. They hired me because of that.
Oh yeah, I worked with a really high-end corporate like enterprise tech company called SalesLoft, and when working with them, I was, they were like, "What kind of experience do you have in sales?" And I was like, "Well, not necessarily sales, but if you consider sitting in a room and talking to over 5,000 people and having to present a problem that they don't know that they have, and present a solution,
Yeah.
and then after on the follow-up, then to be able to celebrate how much metrics and product that you brought to your own purpose, then yeah, I would say being a pastor was great for having sales experience. It is like essentially like in evangelism, which is one of the problems I have with our modern ways of evangelism. We do the same thing. We try to craft a great message that presents a problem that someone doesn't know that they have, and
That's
that
true.
problem is their sinfulness or whatever. And then we then provide the solution to and why they need to know that they need to be saved. Because if you don't, if your problem is if you're a sinner, then the issue is that. Oh, sorry, Dave. What were you gonna say? Okay, wait. Okay, yeah, because like all salespeople, all three of us can go on. So I do want to say, Caleb, that I want to repeat the adage that you said, and I want to, the adage is people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. Yep, that was that's another a popular phrase that was similar. I kind of rephrased it in my book, which was that people want to know that you care before they want to know what you care about.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, you said it. I mean, you got your point across, but I love that. The sales adages are some of my favorite things. And Riggs and my boss was a preacher of sales.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
100%.
And you didn't see him when he was chained. You only knew him when he was chained up. He was okay. So Caleb, I'm going to let you get back and speak with Rick. I'm going silent because what you're saying is much. So, anyways, thanks, Dave. I really do appreciate that. I think that's why I was excited to jump on, and I was like really hoping you weren't going to turn it off. Cause like I could vibe with these guys. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And mainly because I understand the nuance of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I spent a lot of time studying, and where I get really deep is I try to get to to deconstruct the whys.
Yeah.
And for everybody. So like for example, like I think a lot of people have a lot of difficulty when hearing or challenging the concept of God and who Jesus is and their beliefs. And we have this very strong, I have to hold on to this. And it's because of subconscious thoughts that we've been taught to, even in scripture, where you have this idea that if you waver, then somehow your foundation is shaky.
Yeah.
That's not actually the case. But in a world where we're so often challenged in our social political climate to be very steadfast and hold your ground, and especially when too many Christians worship Trump, that they have this false ideology of what it looks like to model that for them.
Yeah.
That's when you have
Yeah.
both intellectually,
Right.
conquest emotionally, conquest even physically, depending on where you're at. But the ish then the flip side of it is to understand that like the ultimate reason is because people are afraid, and we're afraid to acknowledge our own uncomfortability.
Yeah.
We're afraid to sit in the hard places, and not every. And granted, there's a nuance because not all Christians would like worship Trump. I don't. I'm a Christian. I'm a firm believer, and I think what people get thrown off by me is I'm very comfortable talking about like, yeah, it's very possible that Moses wasn't a real person. It's
Yeah.
very possible that
And that makes a lot of Christians uncomfortable. Yeah.
I think there's a chance that they were, but it's to assert that like these people have to be.
Right.
There has to be factual facts
You know,
to it. Misinterprets
Yeah.
the culture in which the books were written.
Sure.
So like for example, we talk about Moses and we talk about the Israelites and them going into slaying the Amalekites and all these things. It's like we don't understand what that was to those people were origin stories. They were literally stories used to design to help explain to people why the world is the way that it is,
and why Israel is who they are. That's right.
Yeah, and so for them, we interpret truth as facts. 1 + 1 is 2. The ancient people interpreted truth as a very subjective thing. Stories, even if were fabricated, were still truth because of the way that it made you think, the way that it made you redefine and have different perspective on
Yeah.
your life, and ultimately was just a dialogue that they had. And that's the growing narrative that they learn as you read through Scripture. It's really just the growing narrative and dialogue that people had with God, who they believed in, and how they conceptualized it at the time. Whereas we live in a world today, which is actually a relatively new way of thinking about the Bible. Up until about 1200 AD, most people interpreted Scripture allegorically. So it wasn't until after around 1200 AD that we began to use Scripture as a very like this is true because the Bible says so kind of logic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as that kind of gets inundated with education and all these other things, we present so much nuance that people have not been taught to wrestle with, and that is where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
Like we arrive to certain places and we tell people that this is how we've always believed when it isn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's okay. And to sit with that is the hard part.
It's the uncomfortable part. Yeah, it's absolutely uncomfortable because it's a mode that people are just sitting in without any form of critical thinking or critical questioning or it's just an acceptance. It's an acceptance. So, Caleb, it's refreshing to talk to you, man, and it's like this is a good conversation. This is what I'm talking about when I was saying, okay, let's see if we can have a genuine conversation here, because not 80% of the time it's not.
Something they want to go on an agenda, they want to find
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
They're looking for the opening. Why it's like if you picture it in your mind, is they're looking for the opening.
Yeah.
To stab.
That's right.
They wanna
Yeah.
stab.
Right. Because
Wound, to expose
Yeah.
the wound, to then make you feel weaker. So that they're
exactly.
stronger.
Because when you
That's not how you grow.
Yeah, and when you answer a question a certain way and it's not what they expect, they're quick to move to the next point. Okay, what about, and they move to the next point. And then if you don't answer it the certain way, they move they're waiting for that jab point, that stab. You're exactly right.
As a flip point, because like I explained before, I go from the other side of the crossroads where you met that crossroads, chose to step away. And by the way, like I respect you for it. I think what you made was a very hard decision.
Oh yeah, very painful too.
I was sitting in this place where for me, the hard point was when I was in my seminary journey and was reading about Enuma Elish. So yeah, you're familiar. Yeah. So it's the idea that like we have the question of what was before. Brought this up. Well, who created God? What was before Genesis 1:1?
Yeah.
And we actually have an answer for that for the ancient world. The answer for it was basically like water.
Yeah.
It was chaotic waters.
Yeah.
But you have the Enuma Elish expands on these other polytheistic gods and that whole creation origin story.
Yeah.
That
Tiamat and all that kind of
ancient
yeah.
Israelites then adopted. So for me, that
Right.
was the hinge point that made it really difficult. But then for me, the opposite was I sat at the crossroads and I continued to sit with it long enough. Not that you didn't sit with it long enough, but for me was
Yeah.
And for me, it came back to answer, I'm sure for people in the comments, for me, the hinge point was less about holding on to factual truth and more focusing on, for Jesus, for example, he says in Matthew chapter 7, you will know my followers by the fruit that they bear. And rather than garnishing his followers by how many people they convert, by how many, you'll know my followers by their dedication or by their steadfastness, or trying to
Yeah.
use words that Jesus would have used at the time. He chose fruit as a very specific metaphor, which then, at least if there's the agreement that Paul even wrote the book of Galatians, whether he did or
Right,
didn't,
right.
the author of Galatians then expounds upon by saying love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. And so for me, it was realizing that what allowed me to go forward was realizing that
More of the
truth
practical.
is,
Yeah.
truth is less about the facts and is more about
The life.
what it is that you are giving for others. So for
Yeah.
me, it's understanding that for me as a Christian, it's the belief that, for me, I get in trouble because I redefine the gospel, or at least I claim that I don't redefine it. I actually try to bring it back to its roots. Most people would say that the gospel is that, it's about the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, and if you don't believe, you'll go to heaven and not hell.
Yeah.
That's like most people's conception of the gospel.
Right,
Whereas
right.
I understand that the actual definition, to modernize it rather than just to quote scripture, to modernize it would to say that the gospel is that, hey, the world that we live in is pretty messed up, but one day it won't be.
Yeah,
One day
yeah.
everything that is wrong in this world and in your life will be made right. And I believe that it is through
Dave
Jesus.
has his hand up.
Oh, yeah. Dave, what's up, man? You're monologuing. Yeah, it's like there's three of us here, buddy. Take a breath.
No,
Something I'm just reading the comments and stuff and listening to you. I do appreciate you guys being so intellectual about it. And you've come to different conclusions, and you're being, that's really, this is entertaining for me. I am not intellectual about it. I just, I was raised Catholic, and I think it's stupid. And it's like I feel like my life is so much easier without believing in all this hocus pocus nonsense,
Yeah.
And reading the comments and everything, it's just so funny to me. It's like, well, and now that I really accept that I don't believe, which is actually since Trump, interestingly enough, because now that I feel like Christianity is jumped the shark with Trump. And how many Christians and evangelicals believe in Trump and all that. That was my stopper. That really
Yeah.
was,
Well, look. So I'll cap it off with this because Caleb, I've really enjoyed your input, man, and I respect it totally. We've come to we've traveled similar roads and come to different places, but I respect the practical aspect of the outcome of where you've ended up or where you're going too. I mean, you don't know where you're going.
It's very much like, I think, Dave mentioned, it's like, realizing that, it's your life has become easier to be able to accept these things and to move forward. And I received that in a sense that there was a point where it was very easy for me to, I'm like, I kind of had a window. I had the opportunity to like bow out. And I was in this very vulnerable place where I was like, you know what? If I just didn't say anything, I am actually at the opportunity. I could leave it all, and nobody would. Some people would ask, but
Yeah.
for lack of better words, no one would be the wiser.
Yeah.
And I personally just in my personal, for me, not necessarily projecting on anyone else, but for me, I there was a part of me, and I believe it was God and the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit to be able
Sure.
to put this on me. But for me, it was like, okay, but I have to do, if I truly believe in Jesus, I have to do what he did. I have to do the hard thing, which
Yeah.
is to stay. I have to do the hard thing, which is to push forward. And unfortunately, I think for me, what that means is it's going to bring on a lot of persecution from other Christians.
Yeah.
The message that I'll be continuing to spread is I work with people and actually help them understand that, like,
Yeah.
hey, the whole point of being
Good to see you.
Christian is to be, to keep it short and to kind of put a cap on it. In Isaiah 53, which
Right.
It says that he was pierced for our transgressions and crushed for our sins, but by his wounds we are healed. And so that projection was to the anointed one, and Jesus, the anointed one, which is what Christ means, did that with his own life. And so for me, it was very personal to say, well, if I'm truly a Christian, which means little anointed one, like my whole point is to know that just as it was through his wounds that we are healed, God wants to use your wounds to bring healing to other people.
Yeah.
So for me to willingly step forward and say, I know that the message that I'm going to teach people to help them understand what Jesus actually intended for his followers, that how he actually intended for us to live, is going to garnish so much hate from Christians. But my choice to keep pushing forward will bring healing to people who've been damaged by the church, to bring healing to people who no longer have hope, to bring healing to people who, at the end of the day, to give up my life so that others can have life. And I think I understand so many people when they're like, I just want it to be easier. And I'm like, I totally hear that, and I want that peace for yourself. And I just think that's great.
Good, Caleb. Well, I appreciate you, my friend, and I'm glad you came on to get a different perspective, a fresh perspective, instead of the same perspective that we keep getting over and over and over. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, you're a good guy.
For sure.
No doubt about it. You're a good man. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
you guys both.
You too, man.
That's a heathen that's saying that. And you know what? I'm happy. And I love that, man. I love that you're happy. I think that's what I want for all our people is to be happy.
That's
and
it.
hopefully my goal was really just to come on here and say, they probably got a lot of crappy.
There's another perspective here. Right.
Hopefully I can come in and kind of
Definitely.
like an encouraging.
Absolutely. And we are. Yeah. And we are going to cap it off at that because I got to get some sleep. And I think that's a great perspective to end on, to show people that it's not just a war here. You know what I mean? So, well, I appreciate you, Caleb. Thank you.
I would say God bless you. I just say it still. Like, I say God bless you, man. But I don't really, you know what I mean? I don't believe in that dogma stuff.
Yeah.
It's the thought that counts,
That's right.
It's the thought that counts. That's what but I just know you're a good guy, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you, Caleb.
I love you guys too, man.
All right.
Really fun. I love talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Saying it.
Have a good night, Caleb.
Yes, sir. Good night.
Yeah. New, different perspective. Huh?
I'm like in a little box sleeping.
I know you're on the pillow. You're
Water bottle. Milo's sleeping on my legs.
Oh, that's funny, man. Astro's chilling out on the floor there. He's just laid out until I go to bed because he sleeps in the bed with us. So.
Oh yeah. Hey, before you say your final words,
Uh-huh.
because I know you got to get up in just a couple hours.
I don't have to work tomorrow, but I still have to get up really early. But yeah.
Oh, that's right. You have the day off.
Yeah. President's Day.
Oh, I've had the day off since June. I forgot. But I do want
Hey,
to
Fredo.
say to everyone that's here, because there's 180. I've learned so much about TikTok. I'm trying to make fun and entertaining videos. So I would like to encourage
thank you.
everyone to please follow me if you don't mind.
Xander.
entertaining videos.
Thank you, my friend.
It is Galveston. I have narrowcasted myself. But we know that this summer I'm going to have like at least 50 more followers.
Yeah. At least. Yeah, go ahead and follow Dave.
If you follow me, I will follow you. I just
There you go.
everyone to know you'll gain a follower by following me. Given 4 follows. Okay, Rick, I love you, man.
Love
You're
you
the
too,
greatest
man.
guy.
Yeah, I appreciate you, dude. All right, I'll see you soon.
I'm gonna get out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, so Rick's gonna go to George Washington's birthday. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I got the day off tomorrow. Yeah, so if you're not following me, follow me. I try to go live. I go live typically every Friday, 9 p.m. Central. And then throughout the week, I'll go live usually once throughout the week. And I'll put it on rickquestionsthings.com, the announcement of when I'm going to go live during the week, typically that day. So I'll put a little announcement in the news section. Rick's going live tonight at whatever time, 9 p.m. So follow me. Go to rickquestionsthings.com, please. Check out the writings that I have there. I talk about my departure from Christianity, departure from religion, but I also talk about other stuff, living in the present. I talk about the nature of reality, non-duality, all kinds of stuff. So I'm working through a Zen poem right now, slowly. Every once in a while, I'll write about a Zen poem that I'm reading through here and there. I'm reading a lot of books at once. I usually do that. I don't know why I do that to myself, but I will recommend a book that I've read a few times, several times before, because it's so tiny. But Thich Nhat Hanh, such a sweet guy. You know, he's no longer with us, but, well, in a way. But this book is so good, but it gets to it's called The Heart of Understanding. It's commentaries on the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra, which is a Zen Sutra. And it's really good. It's so small, and it's so dense with just wisdom. I love it. I really do love it. So I've been reading that again here and there. It's so tiny. Of course, Alan Watts is just my go-to guy. I love The Way of Zen, or Tao, The Watercourse Way. I'm reading Krishnamurti, too, here and there. The First and Last Freedom. Krishnamurti's a good one. Put it in the frame so we can screenshot it. Okay, here, I'll do this. I know it's backwards. Just flip it. So that's one. Also, this is, okay, there's Krishnamurti. That's a good one. It's really intellectual. It's deep. Alan Watts, The Way of Zen, or Tao, The Watercourse Way. I really like that. But here's one that I've been working through slowly here and there, because I keep up every once in a while. I keep up with like biblical scholarship, and this guy's a believer, and I'm reading this. Dave sent a screenshot. I'm reading this slowly, but A History of the Bible. This guy's a believer, but he is a scholar of the Bible. His name's John Barton, A History of the Bible. And it's really good because it does talk about, he doesn't take the Bible literally, and he's talking about the origin of the Bible. He talks about, the different theories on how the Old Testament was written, and how it is basically a knitting together of all kinds of stories and different writings, and just knit together, that's heavily influenced by its ancient Near Eastern setting and context. Kind of what Caleb was talking about as well, in a way. And let's see. But yeah, those are just things that I'm reading through at the moment. So anyway, this is a great night, a great live. I appreciate all of you very, very much. It is 12:04 past midnight, and I do still have to get up tomorrow. Thank you, Lauren. Even though I don't have to work, I still have to get up super early. So I'm going to hit the bed. I really have to. I still have a mouthful of stitches. Judy, I love you too. Thank you so much. I know, Dave. I got to. Dalt, my friend, thank you. Fredo, type it, because I have to hit the bed. I do have a lot of requests still. Xander, I love you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here always. I appreciate you very much. Fredo, thank you for being here too. I wish you would have gotten here earlier. I would have let you up. I'm sorry. I had a lot of requests tonight, and it was hard to work through them. Parusha's mouth, thank you. I love you. Good night. Seven, my friend, you're the legend. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dave. So I still, Sid Simplicity, love you, dude. Follow it. Nice, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I have a mouthful of stitches, and I feel it, but it's so much better than it was. Okay, I got you. Remind me, Fredo, send me a message, that question, and actually what I'll do is I'll make a video about it. Yeah, that's a good question. If Jesus showed himself to me, would I worship him? It's a good question. Send it to me in a message, and I'll make sure I'll either write about it or I'll make a video response about it as soon as I can. But I love you guys very, very much. You're right, Dave. And go to rickquestionsthings.com. Check out what I've written there. Ask questions through there. Fredo, in fact, go to rickquestionsthings.com and go to Ask Rick. There's a tab, a page, Ask Rick. Submit that question there, and then I'll respond to it. I'll make a video. And if not, we can talk about it the next live. All right. I love you. Good night. Tasha, you and Austin, I love you guys. Let me give everybody a chance here. Let me see. Oh, man, I'm almost at 50,000 likes. Thank you guys so much. That's awesome. I wonder if we can hit 50,000 before I get off. Oh, 49. We're almost there. Thank you, Doopster. Thank you, dancers. I appreciate you very much. I'm tapping for my life. Yes. We did it! Over 50,000. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. A W. That's right, Doopster. All right. Yes, Jet. We did it. I'm going to wake everybody up. That's awesome. All right. I love you guys. I will see you soon. Good night.